Chapter 376. Lu Fei glanced at Fang Yuqi and said sarcastically, "Isn't this Dr. Fang? How did you learn to dine and dash as soon as you were promoted to director of surgery? What are you doing here?" Fang Yuqi was still a little surprised that Lu Fei would show up at this time. When Qin Haodong saw Lu Fei appear with the people from the hotel, he knew that today's incident must have been caused by this guy. Lu Fei said with a sinister smile, "Of course I'm here to eat. I didn't expect to see Director Fang dine and dash. What a surprise." Song Wu stepped forward and said, "Madam, I'm the general manager of the seafood restaurant. Please pay the bill." Fang Yuqi said, "I can't pay for this. Your service is not transparent at all. The meal cost 400,000 yuan, and you didn't ask for our permission before you served it." Song Wu sneered and said, "Miss, you arranged the dishes, and you agreed to open the wine. If you are dissatisfied you can complain, but now you have to pay the bill." Fang Yuqi blushed and said, "I did ask the waiter to arrange the dishes, but you should have told me when you arranged such expensive dishes, right? And the bottle of wine just asked me if I could open it. It didn't tell me its price at all." Lu Fei said with a smile, "Director Fang, it's natural to pay for the meal. You've just become a director and you're eating and dashing here. If your colleagues in the hospital know tomorrow, it will have a bad influence on you." At this time, Fang Yuqi also realized the seriousness of the problem. If this matter got out, everyone would think that she didn't pay for the meal, and no one would listen to her explanation. Anyway, she was a woman and she had just been promoted. This would be a devastating blow to her reputation. As if reading her mind, Song Wu said, "Madam, pay the bill quickly or I'll call the police. 400,000 yuan is enough for the police to file a case." This once again hit the nail on the head of Fang Yuqi. She really couldn't afford to be taken to the police station for not paying for the meal. At this point she could only accept it. She took out a bank card from her pocket and said, "I only brought 200,000 yuan today. I can write you an IOU for the rest and send it to you later." Song Wu was happy. It seemed that his old classmate was right. This woman finally chose to cherish her reputation and keep the peace. With such a big order, his bonus this month would surely be increased. "I'm sorry miss, our hotel doesn't take credit. Let's see if he can pay the rest of the bill." Fang Yuqi said, "No, it's my treat today and I ordered the dishes. It has nothing to do with him. Don't worry, I'll send you the rest of the money tomorrow." Qin Haodong nodded in his heart. From this point of view, it could be seen that Fang Yuqi's character was still good. She would rather bear all the consequences than let herself suffer losses. From this point of view he had to help her. You can't do that." Fang Yuqi didn't expect Lu Fei to be so insidious. Her face turned pale. If Zhang Lijun found out about this, it would definitely have a very bad influence on her. She couldn't afford to lose face. "There's nothing wrong with that. You are the director's employee and the newly promoted director. It's normal for him to care about you." After Lu Fei finished speaking, he burst into laughter again. He was extremely carefree, as if he had vented all the pent-up anger in his heart. After laughing he took out his cell phone and was about to call Zhang Lijun. Fang Yuqi's face was pale. She didn't want this to happen, but she couldn't stop it. At this time she was full of regret. Why had she been so careless today? She should have ordered the meal herself. Just when she was at a loss, she heard Qin Haodong say, "Wait a minute." Lu Fei looked up at Qin Haodong and said disdainfully, "What, do you want to pay the bill?" In his opinion, Qin Haodong was a Chinese medicine practitioner, and his clothes were less than 1,000 yuan. How could he have 200,000 yuan? "I don't have that much money." Lu Fei's expression was even more disdainful. "Don't talk if you don't have money. Do you want to show off because Director Fang is beautiful? I tell you, not everyone can be a hero and save the beauty. You have to have money in your pocket. A poor man like you should go back to sleep as soon as possible." Qin Haodong didn't care, as if he hadn't heard his sarcasm, and said, "I really don't have money, but isn't Dr. Lu rich?" Lu Fei glanced at him and sneered, "I do have money, but it has nothing to do with you." "Of course it has something to do with you." Qin Haodong looked at Lu Fei with an imperceptible light in his eyes. He directly used mind manipulating. Since this guy wanted to play dirty, let's see who could win. He continued, "With your ability, you wouldn't have been able to perform the surgery today. At least, you wouldn't have been able to save the patient. At the critical moment, it was Dr. Fang who stepped forward and helped you get through this difficult situation. She saved your face. Shouldn't you thank her?" Fang Yuqi didn't know why Qin Haodong suddenly mentioned this. It was like a slap in the face to Lu Fei, adding fuel to the fire. But to her surprise, Lu Fei didn't get angry. On the contrary, he nodded very cooperatively and said, "Yes, I really should thank Dr. Fong." "That's right. A man should be grateful, otherwise what's the difference between him and an animal?" Qin Haodong said with a smile, "Since you're grateful, you should show some sincerity. You'll pay for Dr. Fong's meal today. Do you have any problem with that?" "No problem. No problem. Dr. Fong has helped me so much. It's only right for me to invite him to dinner." After he said this, not only Fang Yuqi looked as if she had seen an alien, but even Song Wu was stunned. Wasn't his old classmate going to mess with these two people? Why did his attitude suddenly change 180 degrees and he began to please the other party? Regardless of what they thought, Lu Fei directly took the bank card out of his pocket, handed it to Song Wu and said, "I'll pay for Dr. Fong's meal. Now pay by card." Song Wu didn't know what was wrong with Lu Fei. He whispered in his ear, "Are you crazy? This is 400,000 yuan. It's not a small amount." Lu Fei said carelessly, "Dr. Fong helped me save face today. She's like a second parent to me. It's natural for me to pay for her. Cut the crap and swipe the card." Song Wu was stunned, but he couldn't refuse to accept the bill. Seeing Lu Fei's firm attitude, he could only hand the card to the waiter next to him and let him pay by card. Soon the waiter came back with the bill and handed it to Fang Yuqi. Qin Haodong said with a smile, "Dr. Lu paid for it. Keep the bill for him as a souvenir." After that he handed the bill to Lu Fei. Lu Fei took the bill and said gratefully, "Thank you, Dr. Tang. Thank you for giving me a chance to express my gratitude today. And thank you, Dr. Fong, for helping me so much today." Fang Yuqi was completely dumbfounded and thought to herself, "Crazy, Lu Fei is completely crazy." Qin Haodong patted Lu Fei on the shoulder and said as if praising a child, "You did a good job today. Remember, you must learn to be grateful." "Sure, I'll work hard in the future." Lu Fei's face was full of flattery. Song Wu couldn't bear to look at that dirty look and got goosebumps. "Let's go." With that, Qin Haodong took Fang Yuqi, who was puzzled, out of the restaurant. When they got in the car, Fang Yuqi was still in a daze and hadn't come to her senses. Qin Haodong smiled and said, "Dr. Fong, can you still drive?" Fang Yuqi patted her towering chest, pulled herself together and said, "Dr. Tang, what's going on? Why did Lu Fei suddenly pay for us? Is he out of his mind?" Qin Haodong laughed and said, "Who knows? Maybe he found his conscience, or maybe, as you said, he's out of his mind." "But how is that possible? That's 400,000 yuan. Fang Yuqi still felt that her brain was not enough. "It's nothing. Maybe Dr. Lu is rich and rich people are capricious." Qin Haodong said jokingly, "Hurry up and drive home. If Dr. Lu regrets it, it will be troublesome." Fang Yuqi shook her head, but there was nothing she could do. She started the car and drove forward. Qin Haodong said again, "Dr. Fong, how much money can Lu Fei make a year? How can he be so generous as to give 400,000 yuan so easily?" Fang Yuqi had almost recovered. She said, "Lu Fei's salary is higher than mine, about 500,000 yuan a year. That's a good income, but he's a gambler. I heard that he lost all his money a few years ago and used his house to pay off his gambling debts. But since last year, I don't know why he suddenly became rich. He not only bought a new mansion but also spent lavishly. I don't know how he got the money." Qin Haodong nodded but said nothing more. "Dr. Tang, where are you going?" Fang Yuqi asked. "Take me back to the hospital. I'll stay in the hotel across the street." Soon, Fang Yuqi drove Qin Haodong to the gate of Guangren Hospital and then drove home alone. Qin Haodong didn't go back to the hotel. Lu Fei was getting more and more suspicious. He had read the files, performed surgery with his left hand, and suddenly became rich a year ago. He could give 400,000 yuan casually, which greatly increased the possibility that he was the murderer. He had to find out. Shortly after Qin Haodong and Fang Yuqi left, Lu Fei's body suddenly shook slightly, and his eyes returned to normal. He turned to Song Wu and said, "Brother, what did I just do? What's wrong with you today? You're acting strangely. Don't you know what you just did?" Song Wu said, "Are you bewitched today?" Originally, he had said that he would ruthlessly scam that little girl, but not long after, he had to pay for her bill himself? "Tell me, is there something wrong with your head? You can't do that even if you want to hit on her, can you?" Before Song Wu could finish, Lu Fei said in shock, "What did you say? I paid for Fang Yuqi?" "Yes, you paid 400,000 yuan for her and then you said thank you to her." Lu Fei grabbed him by the shoulder, his eyes almost bulging out. "Are you serious? Are you sure you're not kidding me? I really paid 400,000 yuan for them? Of course it's true. I'm not kidding. The bill is still in your pocket." Lu Fei took out the $400,000 bill from his pocket and roared crazily, "Song-woo, why didn't you stop me? This is $400,000. I can't wait to kill them both. Why should I pay them?" Chapter 377. No wonder he was so angry. Although he had some money now, 400,000 yuan was not a small amount. What's more, he had set up a trap for Qin Haodong and Fang Yuqi, but in the end he paid the bill himself. What was going on? Wasn't he playing with himself? Song-woo said innocently, "Can you blame me for this? You insisted on paying and I couldn't stop you. Who knows what's wrong with you? 400,000 yuan, that's 400,000 yuan. Lu Fei was so distressed that he grabbed Song-woo and said, "Old classmate, you're my brother, aren't you? You'll get the money back to me when I pay it to your hotel, right?" Song-woo pushed him away and said, "Are you kidding me? Although we have a good relationship, the 400,000 yuan is in the hotel's account. How can I give it back to you casually? The boss checks the account every week. If there's a gap of 400,000 yuan, it's not a small amount. How can I explain it to the boss? That is to say, you can't give the money back to me?" Lu Fei cried with bloodshot eyes. "Of course not. You paid the bill yourself. Can you blame anyone else?" Song-woo was getting angrier and angrier. "You didn't listen to me just now and now you're asking me for money. How can there be such a good thing? Bastard, how dare you cheat me of my money?" Lu Fei had lost his mind. He raised his hand and punched Song-woo in the face, giving him a panda eye. "How dare you hit me, bastard?" Song-woo was a short and fat man. His body had been hollowed out by wine and women over the years. He was no match for Lu Fei, but he had a large number of security guards. "Come on, throw this bastard out of here." Although the security guards didn't know why the manager had suddenly quarreled with Lu Fei, they didn't hesitate when they heard the order. They swarmed Lu Fei to the ground and then carried him out of the hotel gate. It was a heavy fall. Lu Fei struggled for a long time before he got up. He turned to the hotel and scolded, "Song-woo, wait for me." At this time he slowly calmed down and recalled what had just happened in the hotel. Why did he suddenly lose his mind? Why did he rush to pay for Fang Yuqi? Could it be that he was really possessed? Just as he was thinking about this, the phone in his pocket suddenly rang. He took out his phone and glanced at the phone number on it. His expression changed slightly, and then he pressed the answer button. A deep voice came from the other side of the phone. "Old place, hurry over. There's a big deal to be done." Lu Fei said, "Can't we do it another day? I have something on my hands today." First he lost his position as the director. Then he lost 400,000 yuan. Then he was taught a lesson by the hotel's security. He was in a terrible mood. "Absolutely not. You must come here immediately. I don't know what's wrong with the police these days. They've almost turned the whole Jiangnan city upside down. Once they find out our secrets, not only will I be finished but you will also be in trouble. I've just contacted the buyer and he'll come over tonight to collect the goods. So, we have to finish this business and send the goods away. Then we can enjoy our lives in peace." After listening to him, Lu Fei also knew that this matter had to be done, so he said, "I'll go there now." After hanging up the phone, he drove his BMW straight out of the suburbs, but he didn't notice that a black shadow appeared behind him. Lu Fei drove out of the city and came to an abandoned dock by the sea. He parked the car, looked around vigilantly and then walked into the dock. This used to be a dock in Jiangnan City. Later it was abandoned for some reason and had been idle here for many years. Because it was too desolate, few people came here on weekdays. Lu Fei came to an inconspicuous small house next to the dock. He raised his hand and knocked on the door 3 times. He paused for 2 seconds, then knocked twice and then knocked 4 times in succession. After knocking, he quietly waited in front of the door. After about 10 seconds, the door slowly opened a gap. A bald head poked out and asked, "Who is it? Why are you knocking on the door in the middle of the night?" "It's me," Lu Fei said as he turned his head to let the man see his face clearly. After seeing Lu Fei's face, the bald man immediately smiled and said familiarly, "It's Dr. Lu. Come in quickly. The boss has been waiting for you for a long time." After that he opened the door, let Lu Fei in and then closed the door with a bang. Inside the room, there were already several people holding guns, staring at the door with great vigilance. When they saw that it was Lu Fei, they all put away their guns. "Dr. Lu, please come with me." The bald man took Lu Fei directly to the inner room, then patted the side. The ground slowly cracked, revealing an underground passage. The two of them walked down the passageway, and it was a completely different world inside. It was about 200 or 300 square meters, very spacious, and extremely luxuriously decorated. A fat man who weighed 200 kilograms was sitting on a comfortable leather sofa and slowly drinking red wine. He was the boss here, Fat Dragon. Although this guy looked white and fat like a Maitreya Buddha, his means were extremely cruel. He specialized in the sale of human organs. After seeing Lu Fei, Fat Dragon nodded with a smile and said, "Dr. Lu, the situation is urgent. We have to hurry. I don't know what's wrong with the police recently. They are investigating more and more closely. I heard that they are looking for a Taoist priest, but it's not good for us. It won't be long before they find us. So we have to finish this business as soon as possible, then leave Jiangnan City and hide for a few days. I have just informed the buyer. They will send someone to pick up the goods in 2 hours, which means you have 2 hours. You have to finish the work as soon as possible." Lu Fei nodded and asked, "How many more do I need to deal with?" "There are 3 in total. At your speed, you should be able to finish them in less than 2 hours." Fat Dragon stood up and pushed open a door next to him. Inside was a fully equipped operating room. There were 3 people tied on the ground next to it. 2 of them were middle-aged men who looked like vagrants, and the other was a little girl of 5 or 6 years old. They were looking at them in horror. Lu Fei frowned and asked, "Fat Dragon, why are there children?" Fat Dragon glanced at him and said with a smile, "Why? Dr. Lu, you don't have the heart, do you? Over the years, you have removed at least 80 organs if not 100. One more child won't make a difference." He walked over, patted the little girl's cheek and said, "You don't know, this child is custom-made. She is very valuable. Even 10 adults can't compare to her. There is a rich man's daughter in the Middle East who has a serious liver disease and needs a liver transplant. She is about the same age as this child, so he offered us 10 million to buy a matching liver. Remember, it's in US dollars. For this business, we spent a lot of effort and checked a lot of information. Only from a physical examination report did we know that this child's liver was very suitable for the rich man's daughter, so we found an opportunity to kidnap her." Lu Fei's face showed a trace of pity and he said, "But," the smile on Fat Dragon's face suddenly disappeared. He interrupted him and said, "No buts. If I hadn't helped you change your master, your hands would have been cut off. How can you be a doctor? How can you support yourself?" After taking a breath, his voice softened a lot and he said with great vicissitudes, "Although we killed a person here, we also saved a person over there. From this point of view, it's not a sin. As long as this business is done according to the 10% commission, you can get a benefit of $1 million, which is enough for you to live happily for a while. After so many years, I'm also tired. After this business, I'm going to wash my hands of it completely. I'm going to South Africa with my brothers to buy a piece of land and be happy as a farmer." Lu Fei hesitated for a moment. Thinking of the colorful US dollars, he didn't speak in the end. "Well, doctor, hurry up. We don't have much time." Fat Dragon waved his hand and 2 people immediately came over. They threw the little girl on the operating table like goods, took off her coat, and fixed her hands and feet on the special steel rings of the operating table. The little girl's face was full of horror. She struggled desperately, but her body was too weak to play any role at all. Lu Fei walked to the operating table and looked at the little girl. Then he sighed, took a white towel, grabbed a bottle of pink medicine and poured it on the towel. Then he covered the little girl's mouth with his hand. This was a strong anesthetic. After about a minute, the little girl completely lost consciousness and lay on the operating table as if she was asleep. Lu Fei opened the operating box next to him and took out a shiny scalpel. After a moment of hesitation, he inserted it into the little girl's chest. At this moment, the door was kicked open from the outside. Then there was a flash of cold light. Lu Fei's left hand holding the scalpel felt cold, and then it fell to the ground with a clatter. "My hand, my golden left hand." Lu Fei held the elbow of his left hand with his right hand. Looking at the left hand that was still holding the scalpel on the ground, he howled wildly. It could be said that this left hand was everything to him. After losing his left hand, he would have no value. People like you don't deserve to be doctors, let alone to hold a scalpel. Seeing that this animal was going to kill a little girl, Qin Haodong was furious. He waved the 1,000 blades again. Lu Fei screamed and his right hand fell to the ground. Fat Dragon reacted and hurriedly shouted to his men, kill him for me." Several thugs in the room took out their pistols, but before they could pull the trigger, the pistols had fallen to the ground along with their hands. In such a small space, the 1,000 blades was 100 times faster than they could shoot. In the blink of an eye, these people's hands were cut off, including Fat Dragon's 2 fat pig hands. After Qin Haodong parted ways with Fang Yuqi, he had been quietly following Lu Fei. Soon after Lu Fei came in, he killed the people outside. Originally, he wanted to wait for Nalan Wuxia, but when he saw that Lu Fei was going to kill an innocent little girl, he had to take the lead. At this time there was a noisy sound of footsteps outside. Nalan Wuxia rushed in with a team of policemen. Looking at the fallen arms and the wailing people, she asked, "Haodong, what's going on?" After a brief introduction of the situation, Qin Haodong pointed to Lu Fei and said, "As a doctor, he participated in human organ trafficking and his hands were stained with blood. Now it seems that he is the biggest suspect. He is probably the killer behind the serial murders." Chapter 378. At this time, Lu Fei's arms were bleeding. He was in so much pain that he almost fainted. He wailed and could not care about anything else. Nalan Wuxia looked at the people present and said to Qin Haodong, "Stop their bleeding first, or it will be troublesome if they die." Qin Haodong raised his hand and poked several acupoints on Lu Fei's shoulders. His arms immediately stopped bleeding, and then he helped Fat Dragon and the others stop bleeding. At this time, a policeman who had searched the room ran over and said, "Captain, we found a lot of living organs in the incubator, including hearts and livers. There are about 20 pieces." Nalan Wuxia said, "Immediately organize people to send these organs to the hospital for preservation. Take the victims to the police station first, and arrest all the criminals." He pointed to Fat Dragon and said, "This is the chief criminal. He and Lu Fei stay and ask about it." Nalan Wuxia nodded and arranged for all the thugs under Fat Dragon to be taken away. Only Fat Dragon and Lu Fei were left in the room. Time was urgent, so Qin Haodong did not talk nonsense with them. He directly used mind manipulating and asked Fat Dragon, "Did you do the murders in Jiangnan City a few days ago?" Hearing his question, Nalan Wuxia immediately became nervous. After so many days of work, there was not much progress in the case. If it was really Fat Dragon and his people who did it, they would finally have an explanation for the general public. But Fat Dragon shook his head and said, "I don't know what you are talking about, but we have never done it in Jiangnan City." Qin Haodong frowned and asked, "If you have never done it in Jiangnan City, where did these organs come from?" Fat Dragon said, "We do human organs. But in order to keep things secret, we never commit crimes in Jiangnan City. These people are all caught from other places. Their organs are cut in Jiangnan City and then sold abroad by sea." Soon it was clear that Fat Dragon and his people were a very well-organized criminal gang. They specialized in human organs. It was a business deal, and the method used to commit the crime was very clever. First of all, they did not commit crimes locally. They all caught some homeless people or people with mental disabilities from other places. After taking them to Jiangnan City, they cut their bodies and sold them directly abroad by sea. Lu Fei was the doctor in charge of the surgery. Every time he completed an operation, he would be given a 10% commission. Since the method of committing the crime is very secretive, it hasn't been discovered by the relevant departments for a long time. Nalan Wuxia and Qin Haodong were disappointed when they heard that these people were not the murderers of the serial murders. But when they thought about it, they had solved such a big case of organ trafficking. Qin Haodong continued to ask, "Where are the people whose organs were cut off by you?" Fat Dragon said, "In order to prevent the matter from being exposed, those who had their organs cut off were directly handed over to the people who picked up the goods and then thrown into the sea to feed the fish." Bastard. For the sake of money, he would even do such a crazy thing. Nalan Wuxia slapped Fat Dragon in the face and called 2 policemen to take him away. She also wanted to use Fat Dragon as bait to catch all the criminals who were waiting to pick up the goods. Qin Haodong walked up to Lu Fei and said in a cold voice, "As a director of surgery, you even did such a thing. Are you still worthy of being called a doctor?" At this time, Qin Haodong had returned to his original appearance. He was not the image of Tang Feng, so Lu Fei did not recognize who he was. He thought he was a plainclothes policeman of the police force. He said, "I had no choice. A few years ago, I lost all my property in gambling and owed millions of yuan in debt. If I didn't pay the money back, those people would cut off my hands. Later, Fat Dragon and others paid the debt for me, so I followed them." Qin Haodong used mind manipulating again and asked, "Do you know about the murders that happened in Jiangnan City a few days ago? Does it have anything to do with you?" Lu Fei shook his head and said, "I don't know. I didn't do it." "Then why did you go to the archives of Guangren Hospital to look up the patient's files? Does it have anything to do with organ trafficking?" Lu Fei said, "It doesn't matter. It's a normal job. Although working with Fat Dragon and others can bring me a lot of income, I still need a formal job to deceive people so that I won't be suspected." Qin Haodong looked back at Nalan Wuxia and said, "It seems that Lu Fei didn't do it. It has nothing to do with him?" Speaking of this, his heart sank. There were two key suspects before, one was Lu Fei and the other was Fang Yuqi. Now that Lu Fei had been ruled out, there was only Fang Yuqi left. From the bottom of his heart, he really didn't want this beautiful female doctor to be the murderer. Nalan Wuxia asked someone to take Lu Fei away and then said, "It's nothing. At least we also solved a big case this time. We got rid of a gang that sold human organs. These people have done so many atrocious things, the seriousness of the case is much greater than a murder case." Qin Haodong said, "There is still a day left tomorrow. Let's focus on Fang Yuqi. I really hope she didn't do it." Nalan Wuxia said, "Why? Is it because she is beautiful? No matter how beautiful she is she more beautiful than you?" Qin Haodong smiled at Nalan Wuxia and then said seriously, "I don't want it to be her because I think she is a good doctor." Nalan Wuxia was just about to speak when her cell phone suddenly rang. After answering the phone, her expression changed greatly. She said to Qin Haodong, "Oh no, the fourth murder has happened." Qin Haodong was also shocked and said, "How could it be so fast? Shouldn't there be a day left?" Nalan Wuxia said, "A crime every 3 days is just our speculation based on the previous time. It seems that the speculation is wrong. The criminals don't commit crimes according to this rule." Qin Haodong said, "Let's go and have a look. Maybe we can find clues to solve the case." Nalan Wuxia divided the criminal police force into two parts. One part waited for the organ trafficking gang to pick up the goods, and the other part hurried to the crime scene with them. It was nearly 2 o'clock in the morning. When they arrived at the scene, the police in the area had already pulled up the cordon to protect the scene. The crime scene was a large hardware store. The store owner, who was about 50 years old, was shivering next to it. His face was pale and it seemed that he was really scared. The two of them stated their identities and entered the cordon. The strong smell of blood assaulted their nostrils, and they saw a young man in his 30s lying in a pool of blood. There was a large hole in his chest, and the forensic doctor was busy performing an autopsy. Nalan Wuxia asked, "What's going on?" The forensic doctor looked up and saw that the captain had arrived. He said, "It's not much different from the previous cases, and the method is basically the same. But this time the victim's lungs were lost. The estimated time of death was 2 hours ago." "That son of a b*****. Nalan Wuxia cursed angrily, but she couldn't lose her mind at this time. She turned around and asked the police on duty, "Who called the police? Who saw the first scene?" "It was me." The store owner walked over, trembling. Nalan Wuxia said, "Don't be afraid. Give me a brief introduction of the situation." The store owner said, "Many relatives came to my hometown today. After dinner, I didn't have enough room at home, so I was going to spend the night in the store. I didn't expect that as soon as I opened the door, I would see a dead man on the ground. There was blood all over the ground. I was scared to death, so I called the police immediately." "What about the time? How long has it been since the police called the police?" The store owner took out his mobile phone, looked at it and said, "About an hour now." At this time, Qin Haodong also finished checking the scene. There was a bright red soul-calming talisman drawn on the floor tile about half a meter above the dead man's head. Similarly, there was no soul under the soul-calming talisman. After Nalan Wuxia learned about the situation, she immediately issued an order to quickly check the surveillance videos in the store and within a radius of 500 meters, focusing on the suspects within the last 2 hours. The store owner said, "There is a surveillance camera in my store. In order to prevent thieves, I installed a super high-definition camera with night vision function." Nalan Wuxia said eagerly, "Take us to have a look." The store owner took Nalan Wuxia and the others to his room. When they opened the door, they saw that the computer on the table had been broken into pieces. The main case was opened, and the hard disk used to store the surveillance video data was removed. It seems that the perpetrator was prepared in this regard and took all the surveillance data away. At this time, a technician came over with a laptop. "Captain, I have connected to the surveillance website of the Municipal Public Security Bureau. I can access the surveillance information of the cameras of the Municipal Public Security Bureau at any time. There is a surveillance point opposite the hardware store that we set up. Quick, show me the data." Nalan Wuxia said eagerly. Although the data from the surveillance point of the Municipal Public Security Bureau could only show the outside scene, it could always check whether there were any suspicious people passing by. The technician turned on the computer and retrieved the data stored in the surveillance video opposite the hardware store. Soon the video began to play. Since the selected time period started at midnight, there were few pedestrians and vehicles on the street. In order to save time, Nalan Wuxia directly asked the technician to speed up the video to 10 times faster. The video continued to play and soon a figure flashed across the screen. Qin Haodong suddenly, his face changed and he cried, "Stop, it's here. Slow down the speed and replay." The technician turned the picture back, and a woman slowly appeared on the screen. It was Fang Yuqi who had just broken up with him. At this time, Fang Yuqi was no longer as calm and composed as she had been during the day. She was holding a black bag in her hand, looking flustered and in a hurry. Soon she disappeared from the camera. Qin Haodong's heart sank. What he had been worried about had happened. Lu Fei's suspicion had been ruled out, and Fang Yuqi happened to appear near the scene of the crime. Now it seemed that she was probably the murderer. Nalan Wuxia was obviously aware of this. She and Qin Haodong looked at each other and nodded. Nalan Wuxia turned to his men and said, "Fang Yuqi is a doctor from Guangren Hospital. Let the technical department locate her immediately and arrest her." Fang Yuqi's phone number had been filed with the technical department, and her location was soon locked. About half an hour later, she was taken to the interrogation room of the criminal police unit. Qin Haodong had changed his face and sat with Nalan Wuxia in the interrogation position. Fang Yuqi was sitting on an iron stool. Her face was pale and flustered. Her long white dress was torn in several places, and there were dark red bloodstains on it. Nalan Wuxia looked at her and asked, "Dr. Fang, I didn't expect to meet you here again." Fang Yuqi just looked at Nalan Wuxia with a complicated expression and said nothing. Nalan Wuxia asked, "Tell me, what did you do about an hour ago?" Chapter 379. Hearing her words, Nalan Wuxia's expression suddenly changed, and her heart beat wildly. She asked again, "Are you sure you did this case?" "I did it, but Officer Nalan..." Fang Yuqi was about to say something when the door of the interrogation room opened. A scout came in from the outside and put a transparent plastic bag on the interrogation room table. There was a scalpel in it with some dried blood on it. The investigator said, "Captain, this was found in her house." Qin Haodong sighed inwardly. The bloody clothes, the bloody scalpel, and Fang Yuqi's confession had basically locked in the facts of the case. It seemed that she really did it. Of the two surgical directors of Guangren Hospital, Lu Fei went astray because of gambling, and Fang Yuqi killed people for unknown reasons. Nalan Wuxia lifted the plastic bag and asked, "Is this yours?" Fang Yuqi nodded. "It's mine?" Nalan Wuxia asked, "Did you kill them with this knife?" "What? He's dead?" Fang Yuqi panicked again and cried, "Impossible, it's impossible, he can't be dead." Nalan Wuxia said angrily, "What are you talking about? His lungs have been removed by you. How could he not die? Tell me, where did you put the lungs that you removed from the deceased?" Fang Yuqi said in astonishment, "Officer, what are you talking about? What removal? What lungs? I only made 2 cuts on his arm. How could he die?" "2 cuts on the arm? What nonsense are you talking about?" Nalan Wuxia snapped, "Fang Yuqi, you've been caught red-handed. The evidence is sufficient. You still have the blood of the deceased on you. You can't deny it even if you want to. Confess your crime." Fang Yuqi said anxiously, "I can confess and fight for leniency, but I really didn't remove his lungs. I just made 2 cuts on his arms." Nalan Wuxia still wanted to say something, but Qin Haodong had already realized that something was wrong. He said, "Let me ask." He turned to look at Fang Yuqi and asked with mind manipulating, "Did you do the murder in the hardware store?" Fang Yuqi said, "What murder? I don't know. I really didn't kill anyone." "Then why did you go to the hardware store at midnight?" Fang Yuqi said, "I went to dinner with my friends tonight and went home to watch TV for a while. I wanted to take a bath and go to bed, but I suddenly found that I was on my period and the sanitary pads at home were all used up. I had to go out to buy sanitary pads. I passed by a hardware store at that time." Qin Haodong asked, "Why didn't you drive when you came out alone at night? Aren't you afraid of danger?" Fang Yuqi said, "There was a convenience store not far from my house, so I didn't drive. I wanted to buy something and go home, but it was too late and the store was closed. I know there's a 24-hour convenience store near the hardware store, so I went there to buy some pads. I didn't think it was too far, so I didn't go back to get my car." At this point, Qin Haodong was sure that Fang Yuqi had not done this case, but at the same time he was very puzzled. What was the blood on the scalpel? Why did Fang Yuqi just shout to turn herself in? He asked again, "What's with the blood on your scalpel? Why did you just say to turn yourself in?" Fang Yuqi said, "I've been living alone all these years and sometimes I'm very afraid to go out, so I often carry a scalpel in my bag. On my way back after buying sanitary pads, I suddenly met a drunk hooligan. He held me and was about to pull me into the nearby bushes trying to rape me. I was so scared at that time that I took out the scalpel and made 2 cuts on his arm, but it was just 2 cuts. I didn't stab him in the fatal part and I didn't want to kill him. The hooligan let me go after he was stabbed and then I ran away. As soon as I got home I was caught by the police. I said to turn myself in because I stabbed the hooligan, but because he wanted to molest me I stabbed him. After listening to Fang Yuqi, Qin Haodong breathed a sigh of relief. Although the plot was a bit melodramatic, it made complete sense. Although the case had not been solved, he was very pleased that a good doctor had been saved. He turned to Nalan Wuxia and said, "It seems that you've got the wrong person. Dr. Fang didn't do this case." Nalan Wuxia leaned back in her chair, patted her forehead and said, "It's too much of a coincidence." At this time the technician pushed the door open and came in again. He said to Nalan Wuxia, "Captain, we just made a blood type comparison. The blood on the suspect's body is the same as the blood on the scalpel, but not the same as the blood of the deceased. So the preliminary judgment is that she is not the murderer of this murder." Nalan Wuxia said, "Although Dr. Fang stabbed someone, it was self-defense. Arrange for someone to send her back immediately, and then hand over the case to the police station. Let them go to the nearby hospital to search for the hooligan. We don't have the police force to deal with such a small case." After arranging the other work, Nalan Wuxia took Qin Haodong back to her office. After entering the room she slumped in the chair and didn't want to move. This case had been tossed around for so long. Even though she was a warrior of covert power, her energy was limited. She hadn't slept for more than 2 days and now she felt exhausted. "Are you tired?" Qin Haodong came behind her, massaged her shoulders and neck, and used greenwood genuine qi to comb her tired body. "It's so comfortable." Nalan Wuxia gently moaned and directly leaned her body in Qin Haodong's arms, enjoying the rare warmth and comfort. After a while she opened her eyes and said, "Haodong, your technique is really great. I really want to be massaged by you for a lifetime." Not only was Qin Haodong's massage technique unique, but the most important thing was that the greenwood genuine qi was extremely pure. In just a short time her fatigue had been swept away, and she had regained her energy. "You can do it for a lifetime, but my fee is very expensive," Qin Haodong said with a smile. "How expensive can it be? Is it enough to marry me?" Nalan Wuxia said as she stretched her neck and looked up at Qin Haodong. Under this unique posture the 2 peaks on her chest looked unusually high. Her neckline was exposed. "Oh, who do you think the murderer of this case is?" Qin Haodong quickly changed the subject. Faced with the feelings of so many girls, he didn't know how to deal with it. Sometimes he fantasized that it would be great if he were in the cultivation world, where he could marry as many girls as he wanted. Unfortunately this was Wuxia where monogamy was practiced. Even if he wanted to, he didn't know what these girls would think. Nalan Wuxia rolled her eyes at him bitterly, sat up straight and said, "This case is really a headache. It's neither Lu Fei nor Fang Yuqi. Could it be the old Taoist who escaped?" Qin Haodong said, "Even if it has something to do with the old Taoist, it can't be him alone, because the old Taoist can't get the information of the patients in the hospital." Nalan Wuxia said, "Do you think it's possible that the old Taoist colluded with the people in the hospital to commit the crime?" "It's possible, but the people in the hospital not only have to check the files, but also have to be responsible for the organ removal of the deceased, and he is a left-handed doctor. At present only Lu Fei and Fang Yuqi meet these 2 conditions, but neither of them is the old Taoist. Could it be that we're in the wrong direction? It's just a coincidence that the 3 people were treated in Guangren Hospital. The organs were removed by someone else or a doctor from another hospital." Nalan Wuxia thought for a moment and said, "It's very unlikely, but it's still possible. Now I'll confirm with the technical department. If the deceased was still treated in Guangren Hospital, then the possibility of coincidence is completely ruled out." After that, she picked up her mobile phone and dialed the number of the technical department. She asked, "This is Nalan Wuxia. Have you found out the situation of the deceased? Is there any useful information?" The person on the phone said, "The deceased is a 28-year-old male, a resident of the Dongqing district of Jiangnan City. There is no information related to the case." Nalan Wuxia asked, "Is there any record of his hospitalization in Guangren Hospital?" The person on the phone inquired and said, "Yes, the deceased had an operation in Guangren Hospital last July due to appendicitis." After hanging up the phone, Nalan Wuxia turned to Qin Haodong and said, "Did you hear that? This shows that we're in the right direction. The murderer must be a doctor from Guangren Hospital, or one of the gang members is a doctor from Guangren Hospital. It seems that you have to continue to work undercover there." Qin Haodong frowned and said, but left-handed surgeons have gone to the archives to check the patient's information. So far, only Lu Fei and Fang Yuqi have been suspected. Who else could it be? Nalan Wuxia said, there must be something we haven't found. As long as we find this flaw, the case will be solved. I'll think about it when I go to the hospital tomorrow. Let's analyze the case from another angle. Qin Haodong said, have you found that there is a pattern in this case? Nalan Wuxia said, what? Now even the time of the crime has changed. I can't see any pattern. Now the criminal has killed 4 people in succession. The organs cut off are the heart, liver, kidney, lung. If you add the spleen, then it is exactly the 5 organs of a human. Is this a coincidence or intentional? Could it be that he had killed so many people just to collect the 5 types of organs? According to this pattern, the next organ he cut off is likely to be the spleen of the deceased. Nalan Wuxia said, if you hadn't mentioned it, I wouldn't have noticed it. I thought he killed people just to sell the organs. Now it seems that it's not that simple. And from the 4 cases, the money of the deceased was not lost, which shows that the murderer did not kill for money. Generally speaking, there are only a few reasons for killing, such as love killing, revenge killing, or killing for money. At present, these reasons are not applicable to this serial murder case. So what is the purpose of his killing? Is it just because he is psychopathic and thinks it's fun to kill? Qin Haodong shook his head and said, that's impossible. If it's just psychopathic killing, he can just find a few people to kill. It's impossible to go to Guangzhou Hospital to get the records of the archives, let alone to remove the organs in the order of the 5 organs. At first glance, collecting the 5 organs is the purpose of the murderer. As for what he can do after collecting them, whether it's just for fun or for other purposes, only the murderer knows. Nalan Wuxia said, from this, it is very likely that the spleen of the next victim will be removed, but this is not very useful for solving the case. If we can know where he committed the crime or who he is going to kill, it will be good. After listening to her, Qin Haodong's heart suddenly moved, as if he had touched something, but he could not be sure for a while. Read literature. 88,106. Chapter 380. Qin Haodong thought for a long time, but still couldn't find the key to the problem. Seeing that he was silent, Nalan Wuxia asked, what are you thinking about? Qin Haodong said, I seem to have figured out the key to the problem, but I can't penetrate it. Nalan Wuxia said, solving a case also depends on luck. Go back and have a rest. Continue to work undercover in Guangren Hospital tomorrow. I think the key is still there. Qin Haodong nodded, disguised as Tang Feng again, and returned to the hotel where he lived. The next day, Qin Haodong came to Guangren Hospital to work and found that there were 2 more nurses here. It seemed that the hospital had redivided the traditional Chinese medicine department. Hua Xinyan was full of smiles. When he saw Qin Haodong, he said, little brother, I'll leave it to you today. I have something to do. I used to be the only doctor in the whole department, and I had to stay in the hospital all day. Now, finally, someone can see patients for me. I'm going to see my grandson. He was telling the truth. He used to be the only doctor in the traditional Chinese medicine department. In order not to let the department close, he had to stay here every day. After that, the old man packed up and left without waiting for Qin Haodong's consent. Looking at Hua Xinyan's back, Qin Haodong was amused. He had been in the hospital for too long. He would give the old man a few days off. He made himself a pot of tea, sat in front of the booth and waited for the patients to come. But the patients didn't come. 7 or 8 people in white coats came. Some of them had gloomy faces, some raised their chins, and some had sinister smiles. In short, they seemed to have bad intentions. Qin Haodong picked up the teacup and took a sip. He looked at these people and said, are you here to see a doctor? If you want to see a doctor, you have to register first. What illness? We are doctors, Wang Yao said. A stout middle-aged doctor said, besides, traditional Chinese medicine is a trick. We won't come to see a traditional Chinese medicine doctor even if we want to see a doctor. Qin Haodong frowned slightly. He was sure that these people were looking for trouble. This is the traditional Chinese medicine department. What are you doing here instead of seeing a doctor? The short and fat man said, let me introduce you first. This is Director Zhang from the dermatology department, Director Li from the respiratory department, Director Zhao from the digestive department, and Director Zhou from the andrology department. I am Director Dong Kai from the colorectal department. Dong Kai was full of arrogance when he spoke. He raised his chin as if they were all medical experts high above and Qin Haodong should look up to them. After he finished the introduction, Qin Haodong's expression changed, showing a look of understanding. However, before Dong Kai could be proud, he heard Qin Haodong say, "It turns out to be Director Dong of the colorectal department." "I'm sorry. No wonder your words are so bad. Do you always open your mouth when treating patients?" Dong Kai almost choked to death on his own saliva. Between the two of us, whose words were worse? These words were too choking. Dong Kai blushed and wanted to say something, but he was pulled behind him by Director Zhang of the dermatology department. "Tang Feng, right? We didn't ask you to come here today to bicker." Qin Haodong said lightly, "It's up to you. You can bicker or fight. As long as you ask, I will accompany you to the end." Naturally, he would not have a good attitude towards these people who were looking for trouble. Director Li of the respiratory department said, "Tang Feng, what's with your attitude? We are all chief physicians of the hospital. We are your seniors. You should respect us when you see us." Qin Haodong said, "Forget it. Don't talk about these useless things. What are you doing here? You must know that you don't deserve my respect at all." Director Zhao of the digestive department said, "Since you said so, we won't beat around the bush. Today we are here to inform you that traditional Chinese medicine is not scientific. We want you to resign and close the traditional Chinese medicine clinic. Don't discredit Guangzhou Hospital." Director Zhou of the andrology department said, "I know. Yesterday you happened to give a patient a dose of traditional Chinese medicine and completed an operation. In fact, what does that have to do with your traditional Chinese medicine? It was our Western medicine that saved the patient. Your black medicine soup didn't have any effect at all." These people were the backbone doctors of Guangren Hospital and also the core strength of the hospital. Like Lu Fei before, these people all boycotted traditional Chinese medicine and often shouted for the hospital to cancel the traditional Chinese medicine clinic. It was said that there was a new doctor in the traditional Chinese medicine clinic. Yesterday he was in the limelight in the operating room, which made these people very dissatisfied. Today they came to the traditional Chinese medicine clinic together to fight for Western medicine. That was to say, today they came to provoke the hospital collectively. Qin Haodong's face was completely gloomy. These people didn't understand traditional Chinese medicine at all. After learning Western medicine for a few days, they came back and shouted that traditional Chinese medicine was not scientific and wanted to cancel it. Director Zhang said again, "Tang Feng, you don't have to be unhappy. We just want to teach you a truth. Traditional Chinese medicine is originally pseudoscience. Judging from your age, you should have gone to school, right? Think about it, Western medicine is divided into dozens of disciplines, and the medical experts of each discipline specialize in a particular field. As for traditional Chinese medicine, there are no divisions at all. Think about how much energy a person has, how can he cure all kinds of diseases? This is the legendary saying, biting off more than one can chew, big but not refined." Director Li then said, "In addition, Western medicine has countless scientific instruments as the foundation. We can do all kinds of examinations for patients and achieve accurate diagnosis and treatment. Traditional Chinese medicine, which of the legendary looking, listening, questioning and feeling the pulse can stand up to scrutiny? To put it bluntly, they are all tricks to deceive people. You're still shouting about meridians and qi all day long. Can't you do something real? It's completely pseudoscience. If you have the ability, show me a meridian or dissect an acupoint. It's a big joke that grassroots and bark can cure diseases. Now developed countries in Europe and the United States have banned traditional Chinese medicine. You're still here to fool the people of Wuxia. Where's your conscience?" These people surrounded Qin Haodong and criticized traditional Chinese medicine one after another, as if they represented science and justice. Looking at these clown-like faces, Qin Haodong suddenly lost interest. He had nothing to say to these people who didn't understand traditional Chinese medicine at all. When these people were almost done, he said lightly, "Are you finished? If you are, please go out." These people talked for a long time, but Qin Haodong didn't respond at all. It was as if he had punched the air with all his strength. At this moment, a middle-aged man in his 50s appeared in front of the consulting room. He was a little confused when he saw the room full of white coats. He asked doubtfully, "Is the consulting room of traditional Chinese medicine here? I want to see a doctor." Two young nurses had been standing silently by the side. They didn't dare to participate in this kind of fight between doctors. Seeing the patient, they stepped forward and said, "Yes, this is the consulting room of traditional Chinese medicine. Please go inside." The middle-aged man stepped into the room, but before he came to Qin Haodong's desk, Dong Kai stopped him and said, "What's wrong with you?" "My stomach doesn't feel well. I haven't eaten for several days," the middle-aged man said, pressing his stomach. Dong Kai said, Stomach disease is not a trivial matter. I advise you to go through a scientific examination. Western medicine is much better than traditional Chinese medicine in this regard. Director Zhao of the Department of Digestive Medicine happens to be here. He is an expert in treating stomach disease in our hospital. You can ask him to take a look at you. The middle-aged man said hesitantly, but I'm here to see a traditional Chinese medicine doctor. Director Zhao came over and said, brother, you have to believe in science. How can you see a traditional Chinese medicine doctor for stomach disease? Do you think someone can find your problem just by touching your wrist? Just a few simple pricks of needles can cure your stomach problem? Or do you think the smelly and bitter traditional Chinese medicine soup is more enjoyable to drink? I'm responsible to tell you that stomach disease must go through a systematic examination to see if there is a tumor in your stomach, whether there is cancer, whether there is inflammation, and what kind of disease it is. Only in this way can you be treated systematically and fundamentally cured. All right then. The middle-aged man nodded as if he was frightened by Director Zhao's words. Tell me about your symptoms. The middle-aged man said, I just have a stomachache. I feel that my stomach is turning upside down. I have no appetite and can't eat anything. Director Zhao said, is the pain more intense within an hour after the meal, and then it gradually subsides? The middle-aged man nodded and said, yes, that's it. I can basically determine that you have a gastric ulcer now. Go to the Department of Digestive Medicine for a systematic examination to rule out other possibilities. Then I'll decide on a treatment plan for you when I go back. Okay, thank you, doctor. The middle-aged man turned around and left the traditional Chinese medicine consulting room, walking in the direction of the Department of Digestive Medicine. Dong Kai looked at Qin Haodong proudly and said, see? People's eyes are bright. The patient's final choice is science. He had thought that the young man in front of him would be angry because he had robbed the patient of the traditional Chinese medicine consulting room, but he was still calm and had no reaction. They didn't know that in Qin Haodong's eyes, treatment was also a kind of fate. The man just chose Western medicine and missed the opportunity to let Emperor Greenwood treat him. It could only be the man's loss. There was nothing to be angry about. Just when these experts felt a little at a loss, another young man in his 30s appeared in front of the consulting room. After entering the door, the young man glanced at these white coats and said, Doctor, I'm a computer programmer. Recently, my cervical spondylosis has become more and more serious. I feel dizzy and nauseous. Who can help me? Director Sun of the orthopedics department came forward and said, young man, since you are a computer programmer, you should know science. How can you see a traditional Chinese medicine doctor when you are sick? You should see a Western medicine doctor. The young man was slightly stunned. It was the first time that he had seen such a doctor. He said, I heard that the massage of traditional Chinese medicine is very effective in relieving cervical spondylosis, so I came to have a look. There is no scientific basis for this statement. I tell you, the cervical vertebra is a dense area of nerves. Don't massage it casually. If you meet an unreliable doctor, it will sometimes lead to aggravation of the condition and even lifelong paralysis. Then he pointed to Qin Haodong and said, he is the doctor in charge of the traditional Chinese medicine consulting room. He just came to the hospital the day before yesterday. He is 30 years old this year. Do you dare to let him massage you? The young man glanced at Qin Haodong and felt that he was younger than him. He suddenly lost his confidence and said, well, I'd better see a Western medicine doctor. After that, he left the traditional Chinese medicine consulting room again. After persuading the patient to leave, Director Sun turned his head to look at Qin Haodong, thinking that this should be some kind of response. However, Qin Haodong was not angry. On the contrary, there was a faint smile on his face. He picked up the teacup and took a sip. Then he said with a smile, thank you, great experts and directors, for coming here to help me treat the patient. I'm a little embarrassed that I don't work for the hospital's salary. To download the latest TXT ebook of this book, please click Reading on the mobile phone. Post a book review for the convenience of reading next time. You can click Collect below to record this time. Chapter 380, you can see it next time when you open the bookshelf. Please recommend this book to your friends, QQ, blog, WeChat, etc. Thank you for your support. Chapter 381. These people looked at each other and were surprised by Qin Haodong's reaction. They had discussed it before they came today. The basic strategy was to provoke Hua Ziyan, and then the two sides would have a further conflict. They believed that the hospital would eventually be on their side. After all, each of these people was a doctor of medicine who had studied abroad. They were the directors of various departments, the authorities of various industries, and the core strength of the hospital. It was because of this confidence that they looked down on traditional Chinese medicine and wanted to push it out of Guangren Hospital. But now the situation had changed. The hot-tempered old man Hua was not here, and this young man was even calmer than the old man. He did not respond to their continuous provocations. If 2 couldn't do it, then 3. 3 couldn't do it, then 4. Let's see how long you can hold on. These people decided to continue the game so that Qin Haodong would have no patience to see. Let's see how long he could hold on. At this time, another patient in his 60s appeared in front of the door. "Doctor, I have a headache. Who can help me?" Dong Kai immediately greeted him and cried, "Headache? Why don't you go to see a doctor of Western medicine? Why are you in the traditional Chinese medicine clinic?" I believe in traditional Chinese medicine. I think traditional Chinese medicine can cure the root cause," the old man said. "Old man, you are really muddle-headed. Traditional Chinese medicine can cure the root cause. It's all used to deceive people," Dong Kai said with saliva flying. "Headache. What's the use of traditional Chinese medicine? Have you heard of Hua Tuo? He is a legendary doctor of traditional Chinese medicine, but even he couldn't cure Chow Chow's headache. Do you think traditional Chinese medicine can cure your headache?" The old man hesitated. He felt that Dong Kai's words seemed to make sense. "Go to the neurology department. Headache is not a trivial matter. If there is a brain tumor, it will be troublesome. Find it early and treat it early." Dong Kai directly pushed the old man out of the traditional Chinese medicine clinic. He turned around and looked at Qin Haodong proudly. But Qin Haodong did not even look at him and was still leisurely drinking his tea. What the hell, what kind of person is he? He's really useless. Why doesn't he get angry? Dong Kai was surprised and looked at Qin Haodong with disdain. Not only him but also the 2 nurses next to him looked at Qin Haodong with disdain. They felt that the young doctor in front of them was so cowardly that he didn't even dare to let out a fart when Qin Haodong was riding on his neck. "Doctor, please take a look at my son. What's wrong with him?" As they spoke, an old woman in her 50s or 60s walked in with a young man in his 20s. Both of them were dressed in shabby clothes and seemed to be poor people at the bottom of society. Dong Kai came over again and asked, "What happened to your son? Where do you feel uncomfortable?" The old lady said, "I don't know why my son suddenly got a serious skin disease since the day before yesterday. His entire lower body is black and blue." Dong Kai repeated the same trick and said, "You should see Western medicine for skin diseases. Western medicine is more professional and scientific in this regard. Chinese medicine is not reliable at all. Director Zhang of the dermatology department of our hospital is here. Now I'll ask him to take a look at you." As he spoke, he turned around and pulled Director Zhang over. Unexpectedly, when the old woman saw Director Zhang, she said, "My son went to see him yesterday. He asked my son to do a blood test and a urine test. After a round of tests, he didn't find anything wrong with him. The cost was more than 1,000 yuan, which is half of my son's salary." At this time, Director Zhang also recognized the old lady and her son. He said awkwardly, "Sister, you can't blame me. Your son doesn't just have a skin disease. There should be other diseases. But don't worry. Experts from all departments of our hospital are here today. We can give your son a joint consultation. We will definitely find the cause." Dong Kai followed and said, "Yes, expert consultation. This has always been the advantage of our Western medicine. Everyone, come and see what disease this young man has." After he finished speaking, the experts gathered in a circle and surrounded the young man in the middle. They said, "Take off your pants and let us see what's wrong with you." Since so many experts were here to treat her son, the old lady immediately said excitedly, "Yes, son. There's nothing to be embarrassed about. Let the doctors have a look." The young man hesitated for a moment and finally took off his pants. They saw that everything below his belly button had turned black and blue. Even his second master was not spared. The color had spread to his ankles. Looking at this situation, everyone frowned. "Young man, does your skin hurt? No. Is it itchy? Is it numb? No?" The experts asked a few questions in succession. The young man's skin looked very scary, but it did not hurt, itch or numb. Although they were all experts, none of them had seen such symptoms. Seeing the serious expressions on the faces of these doctors, the old lady hurriedly asked, "Doctors, what's wrong with my son? Is he seriously ill?" Director Zhao of the gastroenterology department said, "Young man, did you eat something dirty? I feel like you're poisoned." The old lady said, "That's impossible. We poor children don't often go to restaurants like you city people. We eat at home every day. We eat plain tea and rice and I eat the same as my son. How come I'm fine? Well, Director Zhao was speechless for a moment. Director Zhang of the dermatology department said, "Could it be an allergy? Did you come into contact with any allergens?" The young man said, "I work on the construction site every day and face bricks and cement. There are no allergens. If I were allergic, I would have been allergic long ago. Moreover, my skin is only black below my waist. If I were allergic, my whole body would have changed color. Besides, didn't you ask me to screen for allergens yesterday? There was no result." Director Zhou of the andrology department said, "Young man, do you have any dirty sex? Did you get sexually transmitted diseases?" Since these experts were speaking in such a disorderly manner, they were simply making wild guesses. The young man also lost his patience. He pulled up his pants and said angrily, "Bullsh*T, you are the one who has sexually transmitted diseases. Your whole family has sexually transmitted diseases." Director Zhou said discontentedly, "We're giving you a consultation. What's your attitude?" The young man said angrily, "Consultation my ass. I think you are all quacks. You're just making wild guesses. Especially you, it's nonsense. I don't even have a girlfriend. I'm still a virgin. How could I have sexually transmitted diseases?" Well, seeing the young man getting angry, everyone was dumbfounded. Originally, they wanted to cure the young man's disease so that Qin Haodong would have no patience to accept. However, no one could find the cause of the disease after a long time. It was so shameful. Qin Haodong put down his teacup, stood up and looked at these people with a smile. "What's wrong? Aren't you all experts? Isn't Western medicine very scientific? Why can't you cure his disease?" Director Zhang was stunned, but he still bit the bullet and said, "This is just a preliminary diagnosis. If you want to make a diagnosis, you need to go through a careful examination with sophisticated equipment. Later, young man, come back with me. I'll give him a good examination. I'll definitely find the cause of the disease." Unexpectedly, as soon as he finished speaking, the young man immediately said excitedly, "Check, check, check. You only know how to check. Yesterday's examination cost me more than 1,000 yuan. You want to check again? Doesn't the examination cost money? Will you pay for the examination for me?" Director Zhang said awkwardly, "Young man, only a precise examination can make a diagnosis. This is science. You have to believe in science." "Science my ass." The young man said angrily, "I worked hard at the construction site for a day and only earned more than 100 yuan. Then I gave all the money to you black-hearted doctors. In the end, you can't cure my disease at all. Quack. You are all quacks." Being pointed at and called quack, Director Zhang was extremely angry and aggrieved, but he had nothing to say. He really couldn't find the cause of the disease. Seeing these people unhappy, Qin Haodong was naturally very happy. He looked at them and said with a smile, "Aren't you very scientific? Aren't you experts? Why can't you even find the cause? Does it feel good to be scolded as a quack?" Dong Kai was stunned and said, "Young man, don't be proud. This is a difficult disease. Even if we can't find the cause, can you find it?" Qin Haodong smiled slightly and said, "Of course I can. In fact, the disease of the young man is very simple. The reason why you can't find it is because you are arrogant and always hold some bullshit science. You don't stand in the perspective of ordinary people at all." Hearing that Qin Haodong could cure the young man's disease, the old woman said, "Doctor, can you really find the cause of my son's disease?" Qin Haodong said, "I'm not a quack. This disease is very simple. I can cure it in minutes." The old woman said repeatedly, "That's great. Doctor, thank you. I thank you on behalf of my son." Dong Kai immediately said, "Don't listen to his bragging. It's a lie. I don't believe that so many experts can't find the cause. He can do it. Now I'll convince you all." After that, Qin Haodong said to the nurse next to him, "Get a basin of water and a piece of soap." The nurse didn't understand what he meant. Why did he need water and soap to see a doctor? Could these things be used to cure diseases? Dong Kai said sarcastically, "Surname Tang, do you think the patient is dirty? You want to wash your hands before seeing the doctor?" Qin Haodong glanced at him and said, "Has anyone ever told you that if you don't speak, you can cover up your ignorance? The more you speak, the more incompetent you are?" "You." Dong Kai's face turned red. He said angrily, "I don't believe you can cure the young man's disease. Let's see what else you have to say later." Soon, the nurse came over with a basin of water and a piece of soap. Qin Haodong asked the young man to sit on a chair. Then he took off his shoes and put his feet in the basin of water. Dong Kai couldn't help but say sarcastically again, Tang Feng, is this the so-called foot-soaking treatment in traditional Chinese medicine? Qin Haodong ignored him. He rolled up the young man's trousers, then sprinkled water on his legs and applied soap. Just when everyone was wondering what he was doing, they suddenly found that the color of the young man's legs began to fade rapidly, revealing the original yellow skin. The old woman asked in surprise, "Doctor, what disease does my son have?" Qin Haodong stood up and said with a smile, "Your son is not sick at all." Director Zhang cried, "That's impossible. I have 20 years of medical experience. If a person is not sick, his skin can't be that color. You must have done something to the water and put illegal drugs in it, right?" Qin Haodong looked at him as if he was looking at a fool. He said jokingly, "Shut up, idiot. How can you be a dermatologist with 20 years of medical experience? Can't you see that it's just his underwear that's faded?" Chapter 382. Director Zhang was stunned and then cried, "What? Were you kidding? My underwear is fading. Can underwear fade? People like you have never lived a hard life. Of course, you don't know that inferior underwear will fade." Qin Haodong turned to the young man and asked, "Your underwear is no more than 20 yuan, right?" The young man did not speak, and the old woman said with some embarrassment, "Dr. Tang, this pair of underwear is only 8 yuan. My son hasn't married yet. I want to save more money for him so that he can get a wife in the future, so I usually spend a little less. I didn't expect to make such a fool of myself." Qin Haodong said, "It's nothing. Go back and change into underwear, take a shower, and everything will be fine. Remember, although life is a little difficult, you can't buy such inferior things. Faded underwear is still very harmful to the skin, and it's easy to get skin diseases if you wear it for a long time." "Got it, Dr. Tang. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'll pay attention in the future." The old woman and the young man thanked Qin Haodong again and again. After putting on his shoes again, the young man turned his head and pointed to Director Zhang's nose and cried, "Quack, I'm not sick at all. You cheated me of more than 1,000 yuan. Give me back my hard-earned money." Director Zhang said with embarrassment, "Well, the hospital took the money and I can't give it back to you. Son, forget it. Let's go home." In the end, it was the old woman who dragged the young man out of the traditional Chinese medicine consultation room. Before they left, the young man spat at Director Zhang and the others. "You can't even tell that the color of your underwear has faded. How dare you call yourself an expert?" Seeing the two people leave, the experts' faces were burning. They had originally come to slap Qin Haodong in the face, but they didn't expect to be slapped in the face by such a dramatic plot. The most sad thing was that they were defeated by a pair of underwear. These people had no face to stay there any longer. They turned around and were about to leave, but they heard Qin Haodong say, "Wait a minute. Who said you could leave?" Dong Kai was angry. Qin Haodong's performance just now made him think that this person was weak and easy to bully. He turned his head and roared, "I can come and go as I please. You can't control me." Before he could finish his words, Qin Haodong reached out and poked him in the chest. Then he stood there like a wax figure and could not move anymore. Realizing that he had lost control of his body, Dong Kai was frightened. He cried in horror, "What are you doing? Let me go." Director Zhao stepped forward and said, "Hurry up and let him go. Do you know that this is a personal attack? You have to bear legal responsibility." Before he finished speaking, Qin Haodong also hit his acupoint. In the blink of an eye, the 7 or 8 people who had just come to the traditional Chinese medicine clinic to provoke were all standing there like wax figures, unable to move. Only their mouths could still speak. You can do it once or twice, but you can't do it 3 or 4 times. As Chinese, you should understand this principle. But you've challenged my bottom line time and again. If I don't teach you a lesson, you'll really think that I'm a sick cat. Qin Haodong stood with his hands behind his back and looked at the people in front of him playfully. Aren't you believers of science? Didn't he swear that the meridians of Chinese medicine don't exist at all and that acupoints are nonsense? Now I've hit your acupoints. Let's go. Show me if you have the ability. Although these people were doctors, they had never felt the feeling of being hit on their acupoints. They were all shocked and shouted, "Qin Haodong, you can't do this. Let us go." Qin Haodong walked around them and said sarcastically, "Aren't you believers of Western medicine? Aren't you medical experts? Now explain it to me. What's the reason? Why didn't you move when I pointed at you with my finger? Are you cooperating with me to perform magic? Unblock your acupoints yourself if you have the ability. Don't beg me." Dong Kai and the others struggled for a long time. Their foreheads were sweating, but they still couldn't get back control of their bodies. At this time, they completely understood the power of traditional Chinese medicine. They knew that the hitting of acupoints was not fake but real. Standing like zombies was not a solution. Director Zhao was the first who couldn't help but say to Qin Haodong, "Dr. Tang, I was wrong. I'm begging you, let us go." As soon as he started, the others also followed him to beg for mercy. "Yes, Dr. Tang. It's our fault today. Please let us go. We used to have a misunderstanding about traditional Chinese medicine. Now we know that acupoints really exist." Since these people had changed their attitude, Qin Haodong glanced at them and sneered, "Now you know you're wrong? We know we're wrong. We know we're wrong. We admit our mistakes. We sincerely apologize to you and to traditional Chinese medicine," these people said hurriedly. They didn't have the demeanor of a chief expert just now. Admit your mistakes? Apologize. Is that useful? If an apology is useful, why do we need the police? Qin Haodong's expression changed and he said harshly, "Traditional Chinese medicine is the wealth left to us by our ancestors. It's the accumulation of 5,000 years of culture. It's the result of countless generations of research. Because of this, traditional Chinese medicine can cure any disease. It's also because the human body is a whole that traditional Chinese medicine doesn't need to be classified. I'm not against Western medicine. But you people have just learned Western medicine for a few years. It's ridiculous that you call yourself a science and question traditional Chinese medicine. How many years has it been since Western medicine was born? 100 years or 200 years? How can it be compared with 5,000 years of heritage? How can it be compared with traditional Chinese medicine?" Dong Kai was reluctant to apologize. He cried, "Tang Feng, we've already admitted our mistakes. What else do you want?" "What else? You just insulted traditional Chinese medicine. Now I'm going to slap your faces. How dare you?" Before Dong Kai finished speaking, Qin Haodong had already come in front of him. Qin Haodong raised his hand and slapped him twice in the face. The two slaps were loud and crisp, leaving 10 red fingerprints on his face. Following that, Chief Zhao, Chief Li, Chief Zhang, Chief Zhou, those who came to provoke Qin Haodong in traditional Chinese medicine were all slapped in the face by Qin Haodong in public. The two young nurses were stunned and soon revealed unconcealable excitement in their hearts. They just thought that Qin Haodong was extremely weak. They didn't expect that he would be domineering in the blink of an eye. His slaps were so handsome. Dr. Tang is so handsome. He's my idol. I don't know if Dr. Tang has a girlfriend. If not, I'm willing to. This is just a small punishment. If I see you slander traditional Chinese medicine again, I'll cut your mouths." Qin Haodong shouted, "Get out of here, all of you." When he finished speaking, these people magically regained their ability to move. Dong Kai moved his stiff limbs and rubbed his swollen cheeks. He pointed at Qin Haodong and yelled, "Tang Feng, just you wait. How dare you hit us? You'll be fired by the hospital. Pack up and leave." Qin Haodong's eyes lit up. Director Li also shouted angrily, "That's right. We're all the elites of the hospital. You're just a Chinese medicine practitioner. How dare you hit us? You'll be fired." Qin Haodong frowned. He didn't expect that these people really didn't learn their lesson. They shouted at him as soon as they were released. Just as he was about to teach them a lesson, someone at the door shouted, "Who the hell is shouting here? How dare you disrespect my uncle? You don't want to work here anymore, do you?" Everyone looked at the source of the voice and saw Zhang Hao at the door. Little boss? These people naturally knew Zhang Hao. He was the only son of their boss, Zhang Lijun. He was bound to be the heir of Guangren Hospital in the future. However, these people were also very confused. They looked at each other and didn't know who Zhang Hao called uncle. Dong Kai was puzzled. He couldn't think of anyone among them who was so low-key. He turned out to be little boss's uncle and had never been exposed. He really hid it well. But this was not important. What was important was that Qin Haodong was going to die today. This time they didn't need to do anything. Little boss would directly drive him out of the hospital. Who asked him to offend little boss's uncle? Thinking of this, he became more and more proud. He pointed at Qin Haodong and cried, "Boy, you offended little boss's uncle. You're dead." But before he finished speaking, Zhang Hao directly hit the back of his head. "Are you King sick? How can you talk to my uncle like that?" "Oh, little boss, I didn't mean your uncle. I meant this boy." Dong Kai was so dizzy that he still hadn't come to his senses. Zhang Hao raised his hand and gave him another blow to the head. "This is my uncle." Everyone was dumbfounded. No one had thought that Qin Haodong, who didn't show himself, was Zhang Hao's uncle, the boss's brother-in-law. How could it be possible? If they had known this, they wouldn't have dared to make trouble for Qin Haodong. The hospital belonged to other people, but they came to provoke the boss's uncle. Weren't they stupid? Although these people's medical skills were very good and they were all authoritative in the industry, Guangren Hospital was the best private hospital in the south of the Yangtze River. The salary offered to them was also very good. If they were really fired by the boss, it would be difficult to find such a good place again. At this time Zhang Hao came to Qin Haodong and said with a flattering face, "Uncle, these bastards dared to disrespect you. Tell me, how do you want to deal with them? I'll help you right away." Qin Haodong looked at these people playfully. Everyone who met his eyes immediately lowered their heads, for fear of provoking him again. Especially Dong Kai, he was now regretting to death. Why didn't he just stay in the office and drink tea and flirt with the little nurse? Why did he come here to get involved in this mess? At this time, his heart was in his throat. He was afraid that Qin Haodong would ask Zhang Hao to fire him. After a pause, Qin Haodong waved his hand and said, "Tell them all to get out of here. Don't come to the traditional Chinese medicine clinic again." Zhang Hao was originally a playboy, so he naturally wouldn't be polite to these people. He immediately shouted, "Did you hear that? My uncle asked you to get out of here. Get out now. Don't come here to make the old man unhappy again, or I'll make you pay." Although these words were extremely rude, these people immediately ran out of the traditional Chinese medicine clinic as if they had been pardoned. They were afraid that they would lose their jobs if they were slow. After driving these people away, Zhang Hao said to Qin Haodong with a smile again, "Uncle, if anyone in our hospital provokes you again, tell me. I'll immediately ask them to pack up and get out." Of course, Qin Haodong didn't care about these things. He smiled and said, "Keep a low profile. I told you to keep a low profile." Zhang Hao patted his head and said, "I'm sorry, uncle. I couldn't control myself when I saw these guys make you angry." Qin Haodong said, "What's done is done. What do you want from me?" Zhang Hao said, "Uncle, today is Rubing's birthday. I want to discuss with you what gift to give her." Chapter 383. Qin Haodong then remembered that today was Wang Rubing's birthday. He used to remember his sister's birthday every year, but this year there were so many things that he had forgotten about it because of the serial murders. He said, "The key to a gift is the intention, not the value. Just do it with your heart." Zhang Hao said, "I know that, but I want to ask you, Uncle, what does Rubing like most?" Qin Haodong said with a look of reminiscence, "When I was a child, my family was poor. Before the new year, what I wanted most was a string of firecrackers, and what Rubing wanted most was a beautiful headdress. When I grew up, I would give her a headdress every time she had a birthday. Now that she has a boyfriend, I'll give you this task." "That's great, Uncle. I knew you would give me good advice." Zhang Hao said excitedly, "Now go to the best jewelry store and order the most beautiful headdress for her." "What kind of headdress?" "Make her a queen's crown. Wang Rubing will be my queen for the rest of my life." Seeing Zhang Hao's attentive look, Qin Haodong was secretly happy for his sister. It was not easy for a woman to meet a man who loved her sincerely. Wang Rubing was lucky in this regard. For his sister's happiness, he asked again, "Does your family know about you and Rubing? Will they think that Rubing's family is too ordinary?" Zhang Hao said, "No. They won't. I've already told my father about Rubing. My father said that he completely respected my personal opinion about finding a girlfriend. He just asked about Rubing's birth date." Qin Haodong said in surprise, "Birth date? Director Zhang cares about this?" "Of course. Although my father is a doctor, he is very superstitious about this. He said that my mother died soon after giving birth to me because of the incompatibility of the birth date. So if two people want to be together, the most important thing is that their birth date matches." "Oh?" Qin Haodong nodded and asked, "What about your birth date with Rubing? Does it match or not?" Zhang Hao said excitedly, "I don't know about these things. My father found someone to calculate that they match very well. It's like a match made in heaven." "That's good." Qin Haodong breathed a sigh of relief. If the marriage was opposed by the family, it would definitely be troublesome. A marriage without the blessing of the family was difficult to achieve perfect happiness. Zhang Hao added, "My father has seen Rubing's photo and likes it very much. He's going to celebrate Rubing's birthday with me tonight. It's like meeting her parents." "Not bad, I wish you all the best." Qin Haodong poured a cup of tea and handed it to Zhang Hao, saying, "Have a cup of tea and try my cooking. It smells so good." Zhang Hao smelled the aroma of the tea from afar. He reached out and took it. Then he drank the tea in the cup in one gulp. He couldn't help but exclaim, "Uncle, your tea is really fragrant. I've never had such fragrant tea." Qin Haodong glanced at him and said, "So you are left-handed?" Ever since he learned that the serial killer was left-handed, he had been particularly sensitive to people's left and right hands. Just now, Zhang Hao had used his left hand to drink the tea. Zhang Hao laughed and said, "Yeah, people say that left-handed people are smart. I got it from my dad. My dad is very smart and he's also left-handed." After that, Zhang Hao drank 2 more cups of tea in a row, then said goodbye to Qin Haodong and left the traditional Chinese medicine clinic. There were not many patients in the morning. After Qin Haodong treated a few more patients in a row, it was lunchtime. Guangren Hospital had its own staff cafeteria. He went downstairs to the cafeteria for lunch. As soon as he got downstairs, he met Fang Yuqi. Fang Yuqi's face was a little pale and a little tired. When she saw Qin Haodong, she said, "Dr. Tang, let's eat." Qin Haodong laughed and said, "Yes, what a coincidence. Let's eat together. Yesterday you treated me to a 400,000 yuan meal. Today I'll treat you to a meal in return." Speaking of the meal last night, Fang Yuqi smiled and said, "Are you laughing at me? I didn't bring enough money to treat you to dinner." "It's not your fault. That restaurant is too unscrupulous." They went into the cafeteria talking and laughing. After getting their food, they found a table and sat down. Qin Haodong said, "You don't look very well. Are you too tired?" "I'm a little tired." Fang Yuqi first took a sip of soup, then said, "I don't know why Lu Fei didn't go to work today. I did all his operations. I didn't even have time to drink water all morning. Today's operation schedule is too busy. There are 3 operations in the afternoon, 1 big and 2 small. If it weren't for the director's help, I would have been too busy." "The director's help? Can the director also perform operations?" Qin Haodong asked in surprise. Of course, the director was a famous scalpel in Guangren Hospital. His surgical skills were so high that even I felt inferior. It's just that later he became the director and rarely performed. If it weren't for the special situation today, when Lu Fei suddenly disappeared, he wouldn't have come to help. Qin Haodong's heart skipped a beat. He touched something again, but he still didn't grasp it. Fang Yuqi continued, "I don't have enough energy today. Last night I went shopping. First, I met a drunk hooligan, then I encountered a murder case and I was taken to the police for interrogation. Otherwise I wouldn't be so tired." She didn't know that the man sitting in front of her was the one who had interrogated her last night. After lunch they said goodbye. Fang Yuqi went back to rest. She needed to sleep for a while so that she could be energetic for the afternoon operation. Qin Haodong saw a dozen more patients in the afternoon. Near the end of work he received a call from Nailin Wuxia. "Haodong, are you off work?" Nailin Wuxia's voice was a little tired. "I'm off work. What's the matter?" "You're off work. Come to work with me." Nailin Wuxia said, "4 people died in a row. The higher-ups attach great importance to this case and demand that it be solved in the near future. But now there are no good clues, so we can only start by investigating Taoists. Today our people brought back a dozen Taoists. Come and help interrogate them and see if you can find anything useful." "Okay, I'm on my way." Qin Haodong hung up the phone and shook his head with a smile. It seemed that Nailin Wuxia was really desperate. She even used such a stupid method. It was also because of his mind manipulating. Otherwise, no matter how many people he interrogated, it would be useless. He took a taxi to the crime squad, went to Nailin Wuxia's office to remove the disguise on his face, restored Qin Haodong's appearance and then went to the detention room. When he got there he couldn't help laughing again. There were more than a dozen old Taoists, big or small. The old ones were 70 or 80 years old, and the young ones were 20 or 30 years old. Some were sage-like and some were sloppy. There were all kinds of people. Nailin Wuxia said, "There's no other way. Let's try it. Maybe we can find some clues from these people." Qin Haodong nodded and went to the interrogation room with Nailin Wuxia. 2 policemen brought a little old Taoist in his 20s and began to interrogate him. In order to save time, Qin Haodong directly used mind manipulating and asked, "Do you know about the soul-calming talisman?" The little old Taoist said, "I've heard of it, but I haven't seen it." "Did you do the murder a few days ago?" "I don't know about the murder and I haven't killed anyone." After a few simple questions, Nailin Wuxia made sure that the little old Taoist was not suspected of committing a crime at all. Then she directly let him go, and then brought in an old Taoist in his 40s. Qin Haodong asked, "Do you know about the soul-calming talisman?" The old Taoist shook his head. "I don't know. What is it? Aren't you a Taoist? Why haven't you heard of the soul-calming talisman?" The old Taoist said, "I'm a fake Taoist. I don't know Taoist magic at all. I just got a Taoist robe to cheat some food and pocket money." Nalan Wuxia didn't expect to catch a fake Taoist who was swindling people. She called in 2 policemen and said, "Send him to the police station and deal with him as a fraud." After that they asked 7 or 8 Taoists in a row, but still found nothing. At this time the 2 policemen brought in another old Taoist. The old Taoist looked sloppy. His Taoist robe was shabby and his face was full of wrinkles. It was impossible to tell his age. And he looked a little crazy. If he were a monk he would be similar to Ji Gong in the TV series. After entering the door before Qin Haodong could say anything, the old Taoist looked at Nalan Wuxia and said, "Policewoman, do you want to see me for fortune-telling? Let me tell you, I'm known as the god of fortune-telling. I know 500 years in the past and 500 years in the future. Each divination is 200 yuan and I'm honest. But since we're fated to meet, I'll give you 2 a divination for free." Qin Haodong found it very interesting that the sloppy old Taoist would tell the police's fortune and charge them for it. He didn't stop him but just watched with a smile. The sloppy old Taoist glanced at Nalan Wuxia with his turbid eyes and said, "Policewoman, you're born with a silver spoon in your mouth. You don't have to worry about food and clothing. You'll find a good husband in the future, but there's one thing that's not so good." Nalan Wuxia didn't take the old Taoist's words seriously at first. Hearing him talk about her marriage, she couldn't help but ask, "What's not so good?" The sloppy old Taoist said, "Your husband is fated to be in love. No matter where he goes, he'll be accompanied by beautiful women. You can't enjoy him alone. But don't worry about it. All excellent men are surrounded by beautiful women. It's normal for them to have 3 or 4 wives, so don't worry about it." After hearing the old Taoist's words, Nalan Wuxia's heart skipped a beat. She couldn't help glancing at Qin Haodong. The man she liked was so perfect that she couldn't find fault with him. Besides, he was surrounded by beautiful women. It seemed that it was true. "Young man, I'll also give you a divination for free." After the old Taoist finished speaking, he looked at Qin Haodong with his turbid eyes again. Suddenly a light flashed in his eyes, but it disappeared in a very short time. If Qin Haodong didn't have a strong spirit, he wouldn't have felt it. Qin Haodong was shocked in his heart. At this moment he was sure that the sloppy old Taoist was definitely a hermit master, even to an unimaginable level. After entering the threshold of covert power, he could easily see through the cultivation of supreme power masters with his strong spirit, but he couldn't see through the old Taoist. Could it be that the old Taoist had surpassed the supreme power? It was impossible to reach this level in a place like the earth, where the spiritual qi was scarce. Did he just see it wrong? However, in this way he didn't dare to use mind manipulating on the old Taoist again. Mind manipulating was useful, but it had its limits. He had to ensure that his spiritual power could crush the old Taoist, or he would encounter a strong backfire. While he kept guessing, the old Taoist also showed a puzzled face and murmured, "Strange, really strange. There's even a face that I can't see through." Nalan Wuxia didn't know what they were thinking. Seeing that the old Taoist didn't say anything, she asked, "Taoist, why don't you speak? What's his fate like? How many women are there in his life?" This was what she cared about most. She felt that the old Taoist was really something, so she couldn't help asking. Chapter 384. I'm ashamed. I'm really ashamed. The old Taoist shook his head and said, "I can't see through this man's face. This is the first time I've encountered such a thing since I started practicing the 5 elements divination." Qin Haodong was shocked again. He was reborn in another body, which was equivalent to changing his fate. Naturally, he couldn't predict his future. However, the slovenly old Taoist could even see through this. From this point he was different from those Jianghu swindlers. Nalan Wuxia didn't know this. The old Taoist said that Qin Haodong's fate couldn't be predicted, which made her suspicious again. She couldn't help asking, "Are you a fortune teller or not?" The old Taoist priest regained his crazed expression and said, "Of course, I can predict the future of anyone except this benefactor." Nalan Wuxia was confused about whether the fortune the old Taoist had just calculated for her was accurate or not. To verify it, she said, "I mean, can you predict a person's birth time?" The old Taoist said, "Of course, but there's a fee. 200 yuan for each hexagram. If you can predict it accurately, I'll double the fee." Nalan Wuxia told him the birth time of the first victim. "I have a friend who was born at 11 o'clock p.m. on December 5, 34 years after the founding of the People's Republic. Can you help me predict his fate?" The slovenly old Taoist closed his eyes slightly, and the 5 fingers of his left hand moved quickly. Then he suddenly opened his eyes and looked at Nalan Wuxia, saying, "Officer, this man is dead." As soon as he said this, Nalan Wuxia's heart suddenly jumped. The old Taoist could predict that the man was dead. Either the old Taoist was good at divination or he had something to do with this case. After thinking for a while, she felt that the former was more likely. If the old Taoist really had something to do with this murder, he wouldn't have revealed such a flaw. It seemed that the old Taoist fortune-teller was not a bluff. Thinking of this, she really took out 4 red 100-yuan bills from her pocket and gave them to the slovenly old Taoist. The old Taoist immediately smiled when he saw the money. He happily took it and put it in his pocket. "Since you've taken the money, you should complete the divination." The old Taoist priest continued, "This person has a fire fate, and there will be a great calamity in his life. It comes from the time of the fire sun in the year of Ding Yu, when the fire heart flame absorbs the 5 elements. He should be hiding at home today, or at least away from places with the fire attribute. If this person had met me earlier, I would have taught him how to avoid disasters. Unfortunately, he did not have this fate. As the saying goes, if the king of hell wants him to die at midnight, no one dares to stay until midnight. This is his fate." The old Taoist priest's 5 fingers twitched a few more times as he said, "This person must have suffered quite a calamity. His limbs would have been mutilated after his death. With his fire elemental life providence and the fact that he died on such a special day, it seems like his fire elemental heart was damaged." After he finished the calculation, Nayland Wuxia was stunned. The old Taoist was so powerful that he could calculate the situation of the deceased clearly. Qin Haodong was also quite shocked. It seemed that the old Taoist was indeed a rare hermit master. Seeing that the old Taoist was so accurate, Nayland Wuxia asked excitedly, "Taoist, can you figure out who the murderer is? As long as you can figure it out, I'll give you 10 times, no 20 times the amount of divination money." The old Taoist looked at her and said, "Although I'm an ironclad fortune-teller, I'm not an immortal. How can I calculate so much? If you can know the murderer's birth date and 8 characters, I can calculate for him." Nayland Wuxia looked disappointed. If she knew who the murderer was, she would have arrested him long ago. There would be no need for her to calculate. At this time, she thought of the purpose of bringing the old Taoist to the interrogation room, so she turned to look at Qin Haodong. Qin Haodong shook his head and said, "Let the Taoist go." Now it seemed that this case could not have been done by the scruffy old Taoist. In other words, even if it was done by the old Taoist with his current cultivation, he did not dare to use the mind-manipulating skill on the old Taoist. Although Nayland Wuxia did not know why Qin Haodong let the old Taoist leave without asking a word, she still did as he was told. She said to the old Taoist, "Taoist, sorry to disturb you today. Please go back." Hearing that, the old Taoist immediately said to Qin Haodong with a smile, "Young man, you are good. I owe you a divination just now. Now I'll give you a hint. In fact, the answer you are looking for is in front of you, but you haven't found it." After saying that, the scruffy old Taoist laughed and left the interrogation room. "The answer I am looking for is in front of me, but I haven't found it." Recalling the old Taoist's words, Qin Haodong had the same feeling again. It seemed that he had grasped the key to the problem, but he was just a little bit away. Since the old Taoist said that he would give him a hint, he must have found something. What did he find? Qin Haodong closed his eyes and replayed the scene after the old Taoist entered the door in his mind. Nayland Wuxia knew that he was thinking about something, so she did not disturb him, nor did she ask the police to bring in other old Taoists. After entering the door, the old Taoist first calculated for Nayland Wuxia, which should have nothing to do with the case. Then he calculated for the dead man, which should be the problem. He repeated the hexagram that the old Taoist had told him from beginning to end. It was the day that the deceased died. The deceased was a fireborn, and the heart that he had lost was the heart that represented the element of fire. Thinking of this, he suddenly slapped his thigh. The dead man was in the kitchen god temple, which also represented the property of fire. This was definitely not a coincidence, but a careful plan by the murderer. He also knew the 5 elements algorithm, but he did not connect this case. It seemed that the answer the old Taoist said was in front of him, but he did not see it. Then he took the information of the other 3 dead men and checked them again with the 5 elements algorithm. The second dead man had a life of water. He died in a boat on the lake. Naturally, he had a property of water. He died on the day of water in the year of Ding Yu, and he lost his kidney, which represented the property of water. The third dead man had a life of wood. He died in a park with a property of wood. He died on the day of wood in the year of Ding Yu, and he lost his liver, which represented the property of wood. The fourth dead man had a life of metal. He died in a hardware store with a property of metal. He died on the day of gold in the year of Ding Yu, and he lost his lung, which represented the property of metal. After summarizing all the information, Qin Haodong immediately understood that the murderer was obviously killing people according to the property of the five elements. This was definitely not a coincidence but a careful plan. Killing people, taking away the five organs that represented different properties, and at the same time taking away the souls of the dead man. What was the murderer trying to do? At this time he suddenly remembered that there used to be a kind of evil magic in the cultivation world, which used the five organs of the dead man and the corresponding souls to make elixirs. The elixir was called the Five Elements of Soul Nourishing Elixir, which had an amazing effect. It could heal people's injuries instantly and help them break through the bottleneck of cultivation quickly. There was no doubt that the murderer wanted to make this elixir. Seeing his expression, Nalan Wuxia asked, "Haodong, did you think of something?" The old Taoist was right. The answer is in front of me but I didn't pay attention to it before. Qin Haodong told her his speculation and finally said, "The murderer is killing people according to the law of the five elements, and his purpose is to make the five elements of soul-nourishing elixir. The time of killing is not 3 or 2 days apart, but according to the order of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. That is to say, the next crime will be committed on the Earth Day of Dingyu." Nalan Wuxia asked, "When is it?" Qin Haodong counted with his fingers and his expression suddenly changed. "The Earth Day is today, and the Earth Hour is 2 hours later." "What? That is to say, the murderer will kill again in 2 hours?" Nalan Wuxia cried, "Haodong, we must find a way to stop him. If the murderer kills 5 people and doesn't commit crimes again, it will be difficult to solve this case." "Don't worry. Let's analyze it now." Qin Haodong said, "Now we are very clear about the murderer's motive. It is to kill people and make elixirs. The time of the crime can be preliminarily determined. It will take place 2 hours later, which is between 21 and 23 o'clock tonight. The location of the crime should be a place with a very strong earth element, but it is too wide to be sure. But we can start with the target. The murderer has now gathered the organs and souls of the 4 elements of metal, wood, water, and fire. The last one is the earth element, so the victim must be an earth element." Nalan Wuxia said, "But there are so many people in Wuxia, and there are definitely many people with an earth element. How can we be sure?" Qin Haodong said, "There are indeed many people with an earth element, but judging from the previous victims, the murderer has high requirements. He must be born on the Earth Day of Dingyu. There are definitely not many people who meet this condition. If they have seen a doctor in Guangren Hospital, it will be easy to be sure." Nalan Wuxia's eyes lit up. As long as they found the murderer's target, the case would be solved more than half. She said to Qin Haodong, "Tell me when the Earth Day of Dingyu are. I will ask the technical department to check the information immediately." Qin Haodong took a pen and paper, wrote the date on the paper and put it in front of her. Nalan Wuxia took out her mobile phone and immediately dialed the number of the technical department. "Help me check the birth dates of these people immediately. The range is the medical information database of Guangren Hospital." After several consecutive cases, the technical department had stored the medical information database of Guangren Hospital in electronic files. The speed of the inquiry was very fast. A few minutes later, the result of the inquiry was sent to Nalan Wuxia's mobile phone. Nalan Wuxia glanced at the mobile phone and frowned slightly. Qin Haodong asked, "What's wrong? Is there no one who meets the conditions?" "There are 2 results. One died in a traffic accident the year before last, and the other emigrated overseas and officially settled in M country. He hasn't returned to Wuxia for a long time." Qin Haodong also frowned. In this way there was no target for the murderer to commit the crime. Naturally the case could not be solved. Nalan Wuxia asked, "Haodong, since there is no suitable target, is it possible that the murderer will stop the crime tonight?" Qin Haodong shook his head and said, "It's unlikely because the murderer has obtained 4 kinds of organs and can't store them for too long. He must find a suitable spleen as soon as possible. Otherwise all his previous efforts will be in vain. We can't just limit our attention to the medical personnel of Guangren Hospital. Since the murderer has started to commit the crime, he should have made a detailed plan before. Maybe he already has a suitable target in mind. This person may be his friend or someone he knows." Nalan Wuxia said anxiously, "What should we do? We have no direction at all now." At this moment, Qin Haodong's mobile phone rang. He glanced at it and found it was his aunt, Li Shulan. "What's the matter?" "Haodong, today is your sister's birthday. She is in Jiangnan City. Help me buy her a gift." "Yes, aunt." Qin Haodong suddenly asked, "Aunt, what time was my sister born?" "She was born at 9 o'clock in the evening, Qin Haodong's expression suddenly changed. Wang Rubing was born in an earthy year and earthy day. Coupled with this hour, it completely met the conditions of the murderer. Chapter 385. Thinking of this, Qin Haodong couldn't help but feel creeped out. He asked again, "Aunt, did you remember it wrong?" Li Shulan said, "What are you talking about? Aunt is not a dotard. How could she forget her daughter's birthday? That's right. Your sister was born at 9 o'clock in the evening. At that time Aunt was ready to go to bed." At this time, Qin Haodong had no time to listen anymore. He quickly said, "Aunt, I'm in a hurry now. I'll call you back when I have time." Then he hung up the phone with a heavy face. "What's wrong, Haodong?" Nalan Wuxia asked. She had rarely seen Qin Haodong so nervous. "My sister was born in the Earth year, day and hour. I have a bad feeling that she will be the murderer's next target." "Then what are you waiting for? Ask where your sister is and go to protect her now. First of all, you have to ensure her personal safety. It would be best if you could catch the murderer." Qin Haodong nodded, took out his mobile phone and dialed Wang Rubing's number. He asked, "Sister, where are you?" Wang Rubing said excitedly, "I'm with Zhang Hao. He said he would give me a special birthday tonight." Qin Haodong said, "Tell me where you are. I'll come to you now." Wang Rubing laughed and said, "What are you doing here? Don't you feel like a third wheel?" Qin Haodong was not in the mood to joke at this time. He didn't want to tell Wang Rubing the truth for fear of scaring her, so he said, "Aunt asked me to prepare a birthday gift for you. I want to send it to you now." "Wait a moment. Zhang Hao and I are in the car. I'll send you the location when we get there." "Where are you going?" "I don't know. I'm in Zhang Hao's car. He said he would take me to a special place." Wang Rubing's tone was both excited and expectant. This was the first time she had spent her birthday with her boyfriend. "That's it. I'll send you a message when I get there." Then she hung up the phone. Nalan Wuxia stood next to them and heard their conversation clearly. She asked, "She's with her boyfriend. Don't you think too much?" Was he really thinking too much? Zhang Hao was undoubtedly sincere to Wang Rubing. He could feel it. "But why do I always have this kind of uneasiness in my heart?" This kind of uneasiness came from the perception of the primordial spirit, so it should not be wrong. Suddenly, a series of images flashed through his mind. First, Fang Yuqi said at lunch, the director used to be a famous scalpel in Guangren Hospital. His surgical skills were so high that even I felt inferior to him. But later, when he became the director, he seldom performed. Then there was the conversation she had with Zhang Hao while they were drinking tea. Left-handed people are all smart, and my dad is also left-handed. My dad just asked for Rubing's birth date and had someone look at it and said that we are very compatible. In the end, Zhang Tingting from the archives said, only the director has a copy of the patient's electronic file. Seeing him in a daze, Nalan Wuxia asked, "What's wrong, Haodong? Why don't you speak?" I know who the murderer is." "Really? Who is it?" Nalan Wuxia asked with wide eyes. "It's Zhang Lijun, the director of Guangren Hospital. Previously we only focused on the doctors in Guangzhou Hospital, but we forgot that there's a director. He has the information of all the patients, so it's easy to check." "Principal Zhang, is this possible?" Hearing the answer, Nalan Wuxia was extremely shocked. "It's him. I can't be wrong. I've already learned that Zhang Lijun's surgical skills are very high, and he's left-handed, which is in line with all our previous speculations." Speaking of this, Qin Haodong's expression suddenly changed. "He also learned about my sister's birth date before. It seems that he has already made preparations. Zhang Hao said that Zhang Lijun will celebrate my sister's birthday with them tonight. This is a conspiracy. He must want to do it at this time." Speaking of this, he took out his mobile phone and called Wang Rubing again. In any case, he wanted Wang Rubing to return quickly. He could not risk his sister's life. But this time the phone was turned off. He called Zhang Hao's phone again, but it was also turned off. Damn it. Seeing that there was only more than an hour left before 9 p.m., he turned to Nalan Wuxia and said, "Now we can be 100% sure that the murderer is Zhang Lijun, and the next target is my sister. Immediately ask your technical department to locate their mobile phones, and then immediately rush over after confirming the location." Nalan Wuxia also realized the seriousness of the problem. Orders were issued one after another, and the entire crime squad worked nervously. At this time, Wang Rubing was sitting in Zhang Hao's Passat. After talking with Qin Haodong on the phone, Zhang Hao said, "Today is a special day. Turn off the phone. Don't let anyone disturb us." "Will that work? What if something happens to me?" You're not the president of the country. What can be urgent? Let's talk about it tomorrow. Then he took out his phone and turned it off first. Well, I'll turn it off too. Wang Rubing hesitated for a moment and finally pressed the button to turn it off. Soon the Passat left the city and drove to the suburbs. Wang Rubing laughed and said, "Zhang Hao, where are you taking me? You're not going to sell me, right?" Zhang Hao grabbed her hand and said, "How could that be possible? You're much more important than me in my heart. I would rather sell myself than sell you." "Then where are you taking me? Shouldn't we find a romantic hotel for our birthday? Why are we out of the city? I want to give you a surprise." "Of course I can't tell you if it's a surprise. Otherwise it won't work." Zhang Hao continued to drive forward. About 20 minutes later they were completely out of the city. They drove off the highway and along the dirt road. Soon they came to a small mound. After getting out of the car he turned off the lights. It was dark around them. There was no light, not even a tree. Wang Rubing couldn't help but say nervously, "Zhang Hao, you don't really want to bury me here, do you?" Zhang Hao took her hand and said, "How could I? This is the birthday party I carefully prepared for you." After saying that, he raised his hand and snapped his fingers. The entire mound suddenly lit up. It turned out that the entire mound was already filled with all kinds of colorful lights of different shapes and colors, forming a beautiful heart shape. In the center of the heart shape was a large, crystal-like dining table. In the center of the table was a three-tiered birthday cake. Everything exuded a charming color under the illumination of the lights, looking like a world from a fairy tale. Looking at everything in front of her, Wang Rubing covered her mouth in surprise. She was moved and said, "Zhang Hao, did you prepare all this?" "Not only me but also my dad. We prepared this unique birthday party for you together," Zhang Hao said. "My dad believes in metaphysics very much. He said that you have an earthy life, so it's best to celebrate your birthday in an earthy environment so that you can live a long life. That's why I purposely chose this place for you. There's only soil here, no rocks, no water, no fire, no metal, not even a tree. Although it looks bare, my dad said that it'll be especially good for your future." At this moment, Wang Rubing's heart was filled with happiness. She took Zhang Hao's hand and said, "Thank you and thank Uncle Zhang." Zhang Hao said with a smile, "You can thank me, but if you want to thank my dad, thank him in person." Wang Rubing said in surprise, "What? Uncle Zhang is here too?" "Yes, my dad saw your photo and was very satisfied with you. He wants to celebrate your birthday with me. He prepared everything here in advance." Zhang Hao took Wang Rubing to the table and shouted to an off-road vehicle parked in the other direction of the mound, "Dad, Rubing is here. Come out." "Okay, I'm here." As soon as the voice fell, the door of the off-road vehicle opened and two people got out of the car. Zhang Lijun, the director of Guangren Hospital, walked in front, followed by an old Taoist. The old Taoist was about 60 or 70 years old, with a big beard and eyebrows. He wore a gray Taoist robe and carried a sword on his back. He looked like a sage and a master. If Qin Haodong were here, he would immediately recognize that this man was Dao Tong, who had been injured by them and had fallen into the devil's path. Zhang Lijun's arrival was quite a surprise to Wang Rubing. She was not ready to meet her parents. She did not expect Zhang Hao to bring his father. At the same time, she was a little confused when she saw the old Taoist. She did not know why he brought him to her birthday party. Zhang Hao also did not know Dao Tong. He asked Zhang Lijun, "Dad, who is this Taoist priest?" Zhang Lijun said, "This is Dad's master, Dao Tong. He is absolutely a master. You should call him Grandmaster. Come and say hello to him." Although he did not believe in strange things, Zhang Hao saluted the old Taoist out of respect for Zhang Lijun. "Hello, Grandmaster." Dao Tong just nodded slightly, but his eyes were fixed on Wang Rubing. There was a faint flash of greed and excitement in his eyes. Zhang Lijun said, "How, your Grandmaster is here today to celebrate your girlfriend's birthday. Hurry up and introduce him to us." Zhang Hao introduced Wang Rubing to Zhang Lijun and Dao Tong. Then the four sat down at the table and began the formal birthday party. In addition to the birthday cake, there were also sumptuous dishes and red wine on the table. Zhang Hao poured a glass of red wine for everyone and lit the candles on the cake. He blew out the candles and made a wish. Everything was no different from a normal birthday party. After that, he took out a very exquisitely wrapped box and gave it to Wang Rubing. "Rubing, this is the birthday present I prepared for you today. Do you like it?" Wang Rubing glanced at Zhang Hao and opened the box expectantly. When she opened the lid, she was stunned. There was a crown-shaped hairpin in the box. The whole crown was made of gold and was inlaid with several shining gems. In the light it was both noble and beautiful, looking extremely moving. After a full minute, Wang Rubing came to her senses and exclaimed, "What a beautiful hairpin! Is this for me?" Zhang Hao was very satisfied with Wang Rubing's reaction and said proudly, "Of course it's for you. Do you like it?" "Yes, I like it very much." Although Wang Rubing was a little surprised by the arrival of Zhang Lijun and Dao Tong tonight, Zhang Hao had brought her one surprise after another. Her heart was completely filled with happiness. "Put it on and see if it's beautiful," Zhang Hao said, carefully taking out the crown-shaped hairpin and putting it on Wang Rubing's head. "So beautiful, so beautiful. You are my queen from now on," Wang Rubing said with a happy face. "Zhang Hao, thank you for the birthday present you prepared for me. I really like it." At this time, Dao Tong looked at Zhang Lijun and said, "Time's up. Let's start." Chapter 386. "Yes, master," Zhang Lijun said respectfully to Dao Tong. Then he turned to look at Wang Rubing and said, "Rubing, there's something I want to discuss with you." Zhang Hao said, "Dad, what can't we talk about later? Rubing hasn't blown out the candles and made a wish yet." Zhang Lijun said with a playful smile, "It doesn't matter whether I make a wish or not. It won't come true anyway." When he said this, Wang Rubing's face immediately became ugly. What did he mean by it was meaningless to make a wish? What did he mean by it couldn't come true? Zhang Hao said discontentedly, "Dad, today is Rubing's birthday. How can you say that?" Zhang Lijun ignored him and continued to say to Wang Rubing, "Rubing, Uncle Zhang wants to borrow something from you today." Zhang Hao said again, "Dad, we don't have anything at home. What do you want to borrow from Rubing?" "You shut up." Zhang Lijun glared at Zhang Hao. Although Wang Rubing was a little unhappy, she said patiently, "Uncle Zhang, just tell me what you want. I'll lend it to you as long as I have it." Zhang Lijun smiled and said, "Let me tell you a story." Both Zhang Hao and Wang Rubing were extremely surprised. They didn't know what Zhang Lijun was doing. First he said he wanted to borrow something and now he wanted to tell a story. Zhang Lijun ignored their expressions and continued, "Legend has it that there is a kind of medicine that can make people immortal after eating it." As soon as he said this, Zhang Hao said, "Dad, you are a doctor. How can you believe this kind of rumor? There is no elixir in the world." "I've already told you to shut up." Zhang Lijun glared at Zhang Hao again and continued, "This medicine is called the 5 Elements of Soul Nourishing Pill. Although it can't really make people immortal, it can at least make people immune to all kinds of diseases and make people live hundreds or even thousands of years." Wang Rubing stopped Zhang Hao, who was about to open his mouth to refute, and said, "Uncle Zhang, whether what you said is true or not, I don't have the 5 Elements of Soul Nourishing Pill, and I can't lend it to you." Zhang Lijun ignored her again and said, "The 5 Elements of Soul Nourishing Pill is made from the 5 internal organs of human beings. The heart of the fire attribute, the kidney of the water attribute, the lung of the metal attribute, the liver of the wood attribute, and the spleen of the earth attribute. These 5 organs, together with the soul of the dead, can make the perfect 5 Elements of Soul Nourishing Pill." After hearing this, Wang Rubing and Zhang Hao were shocked. Zhang Hao cried, "Zhang, what are you talking about? This is obviously magic. How can it be true?" Zhang Lijun stared at him and said, "This is what your grandmaster taught me. It's true." Zhang Rubing he. Zhang Wang turned to Zhang and Lijun, "Zhang Zhang Zhang. Zhang 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 Hao. Li Zhang Tong Zhang 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 Zhang, Zhang Hao Zhang 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 Tong. Zhang Zhang, Aru Zhang, Zhang Zhang Bi, Zhang." Zhang Hao suddenly stood up and shouted, "Dad, are you crazy? What nonsense are you talking about?" Zhang Lijun's expression did not change much. He continued to say lightly, "Son, I'm not talking nonsense. You can't blame me for being cruel. I didn't want to do this." However, of the 2 owners of the spleen, one died in a car accident, and the other ran to M country. I can't find him. We can't wait any longer or the organs we collected will lose their effectiveness. So we must gather the spleen to make the pill tonight. He opened a wooden box next to him. There were 4 neatly placed incubators in it. He pointed to the 4 incubators and said, "Look, there are already hearts, livers, spleens and kidneys in them. We need a lung to make the pill." Zhang Hao was shocked and cried, "Dad, are you serious? This is against the law, don't you know?" Zhang Lijun's face suddenly flashed with madness and he shouted, "The law is nothing. Your grandmaster said that if we make the 5 Elements of Soul Nourishing Pill, he will give you one. You can live forever like us. Don't you want it?" "No, I just want to be with Rubing and Bai." Zhang Hao pulled Wang Rubing up and was about to leave. Stop right there. Zhang Lijun stood in front of Zhang Hao and Wang Rubing and said in a cold voice, "Since you're here, how can you let her go?" Zhang Hao felt that the Zhang Lijun in front of him was very strange. He was no longer the father he admired very much. He said angrily, "You asked me to bring Rubing here for her birthday. You've already prepared for this, haven't you?" Zhang Lijun sneered and said, "That's right. The day you told me her birthday, I was so happy that I couldn't sleep. I was worried that I couldn't find a spleen of the earth attribute. I didn't expect you to bring one back for me. Do you know why I set the place here? Because this is the best area of the earth attribute, the most suitable for her spleen removal surgery. Soon we will be able to collect the 5 organs and ask your grandmaster to refine the 5 elements of soul-nourishing pill. Then we will all be immortal." Only then did Zhang Hao realize that all this was not for Wang Rubing's birthday, but a big conspiracy. He took a step forward, stood in front of Wang Rubing and growled at Zhang Lijun, "No, whoever dares to touch a finger of Rubing today, I will fight him to the death, even if you are my father." "You're so stubborn." Zhang Lijun said, "You can't stop this kind of thing." Zhang Hao was just about to say something when he felt someone patting him on the back of his neck. Then he fainted and fell to the ground with a plop. Wang Rubing immediately exclaimed, "Zhang Hao, what's wrong with you? Are you all right?" Zhang Lijun looked at Dao Tong and asked worriedly, "Taoist, how is my son?" "Don't worry, he's just in the way, so I knocked him out. He'll wake up in a few hours." Dao Tong said, "Don't waste time. It's the time of the earth." "Got it, master," Zhang Lijun said. He took a white towel from the table and covered Wang Rubing's face with it. The towel had been fed with a strong anesthetic. Wang Rubing was examining Zhang Hao on the ground. Covered by the towel, she fell to the ground with a plop. Although she was still conscious, she lost the ability to move. After all this was done, Zhang Lijun raised his hand and pushed all the cakes and other things on the table to the ground. Then he picked Wang Rubing up and put her on the table. The dining table was 2 meters long, and there was a large space above Wang Rubing's head. He took out a brush, dipped it in red ink, and drew a large soul-calming talisman on the dining table above Wang Rubing's head. At this time, Dao Tong dragged out a stove from under the dining table, took out 4 incubators, put them next to the stove, and took out 4 bronze coins from his pocket. The square holes of the coins were filled with smoke. If you looked closely, it turned out to be a ferocious ghost face. It turned out that these copper coins were magic weapons called soul-locking copper coins, which could trap people's souls inside and prevent them from reincarnating. Dao Tong took another look at Wang Rubing on the dining table and couldn't help laughing proudly. "As long as I get this woman's spleen, I can refine the 5 elements of soul-nourishing pill. At that time, not only will my injury be healed, but I can also seize the opportunity to break through to the supreme power realm. Dao Xian Qin Haodong, wait for me. When I break through, I'll skin you and pull out your tendons." In the last war, Dao Tong had been hiding in Jiangnan after being injured. He had tried many ways to cure his injury, but he couldn't. His cultivation had also plummeted, from the original half-step supreme power realm to the first level of covert power. Later, he accidentally got an ancient book left by an evil cultivator, which recorded the refining of the 5 elements of soul-nourishing pill. It said that the pill had the power to go against the natural order. It could not only make people live forever, but also break through the bottleneck of martial arts and greatly improve cultivation. In order to cure his injury, Dao Tong decided to refine the 5 elements of soul-nourishing pill, but he didn't have this condition. Later he found Zhang Lijun, the director of Guangren Hospital. He first threatened Zhang Lijun with poison, and then used longevity as bait to make Zhang Lijun willing to be his accomplice. It seemed that God was helping him. Everything went so smoothly. In a few hours, Dao Tong would be able to get the 5 elements of soul-nourishing pill. Looking at Wang Rubing lying in front of him, Zhang Lijun was also excited. Although he had a rich family and was the director, it was not as tempting as immortality. As long as he could eat the 5 elements of soul-nourishing pill made by Dao Tong, he could enjoy the world for a longer time. He took out a shiny scalpel from his pocket and was about to cut Wang Rubing's waist. At this moment, a cold voice suddenly came from behind, "If you dare to touch my sister, I will make you wish you were dead." Dao Tong and Zhang Lijun were startled. They looked back and saw Qin Haodong standing behind them with a murderous look. "Your sister? The heavens really have eyes, sending your sister to me?" Dao Tong did not panic at all when he saw Qin Haodong. On the contrary, he was very excited. The last time they fought, Qin Haodong was only at the level of the 9th level of overt power. Although his cultivation had fallen sharply, he was also a master at the level of covert power. It was easy for him to deal with Qin Haodong. Boy, without the help of that old guy Dao Xian, you still dare to come to die. You're tired of living. Dao Tong turned to Zhang Lijun and said, hurry up. I want him to see with his own eyes how his sister became the material of my alchemy. Yes, master. Zhang Lijun promised and picked up the scalpel again. You're courting death. Qin Haodong gave a cold shout and tapped the ground with his toes. A fist-sized piece of soil flew out and hit Zhang Lijun in the chest. Under the violent impact, although the soil was torn apart, Zhang Lijun flew back 6 or 7 meters and fell to the ground with a bang, as if he had been hit by a cannonball. He was just an ordinary person. After suffering such a heavy blow, there was a sharp pain in his chest. Then he spat out a big mouthful of blood and struggled for a long time without getting up. Boy, I'll kill you. Seeing Qin Haodong hurt Zhang Lijun under his nose, Dao Tong was furious. He pulled out the sword behind him and used the heavenly fairy to stab Qin Haodong in the air. In his view, he was a master of covert power, and Qin Haodong had not broken through the bottleneck of covert power. Naturally, he dared not fight with him. He had even thought of Qin Haodong's next move after he dodged. At this moment, a cold light flashed in front of him, like a lightning bolt in the night sky, and suddenly struck him. Dao Tong, who had felt the great pressure of the knife in mid-air, hurriedly waved the sword in his hand to meet it. At this time, Qin Haodong had reached the realm of half a step to the supreme power realm, and he had cut the sword in two with a casual slash. The powerful force sent Dao Tong flying backward, and he began to vomit blood in mid-air. Half step to the supreme power realm, how is this possible? Dao Tong's heart was full of fear. He couldn't figure out how Qin Haodong's cultivation had improved so much in just a few days. Even in his heyday, he might not be able to win. Chapter 387. After feeling the strength of Qin Haodong's cultivation, Dao Tong had no time to think about the reason, nor did he care about Zhang Lijun, who was still lying on the ground. The gap between their cultivation was so great that there was no chance of getting lucky. If he continued to fight, he would die. The only thing he could think of now was how to escape. Boy, you wait and see. I'll make you pay for what you did today 10 times sooner or later. Dao Tong looked at Qin Haodong fiercely. His eyes were full of hatred as if he wanted to swallow him alive. After that, a blood mist appeared on the surface of his body. The blood mist grew larger and larger, slowly wrapping his whole body in it. The blood shadow skill was an evil method. Last time he relied on this method to escape from Dao Xian. Although the cost of using the blood shadow skill was great, he couldn't care less at this time. Qin Haodong stood there, just looking at Dao Tong with a sneer, without any intention of stopping him. The blood mist began to drift away from its place. Unexpectedly, before it could drift far, there was a muffled bang, as if it had hit an invisible wall. Then Dao Tong let out a scream and fell to the ground again, covered in blood. Qin Haodong stepped over, looked at him playfully and said, "Run, why don't you run?" After determining the location of Wang Lijun and others, Qin Haodong arrived here one step ahead of Nalan Wuxia and others, where he saw Dao Tong. The evil old Taoist had escaped once last time. How could he not be prepared this time? He quickly set up a trap around the mound. Yo. What do you want? At this moment, Dao Tong's heart was full of fear. The young man who was so weak in front of him last time, was now so powerful that even escape had become an extravagant hope. How dare you ask me what I want? You kidnapped my sister. You killed innocent creatures one after another. You wanted to refine the 5 elements of soul-nourishing pill. You are unrepentant. Of course, I want to get rid of evil for the people. Every word Qin Haodong took a step forward, and every step seemed to step on Dao Tong's heart. Dao Tong cried in panic, "You can't kill me. I'm a member of the Qingyi school. If you kill me, my master won't spare you. You're just an abandoned disciple. How dare you say you're a member of the Qingyi sect? Moreover, you've done so many heinous things. Even if you say the sect leader of the Qingyi sect is your father, I'll still kill you today." Qin Haodong stretched out his right hand, and the 1,000 blades appeared in his palm. It turned into a flash of lightning and cut toward Dao Tong. Dao Tong grabbed the broken sword in his hand and tried to resist desperately, but the gap between them was too big. His blood-drawing skill had consumed a lot of his pneuma. Before he could see what was going on, he felt a pain in his waist. The 1,000 blades had been inserted into his ribs. Dao Tong let out a heart-wrenching scream and stepped back, clutching his wound. "Didn't you want to cut off my sister's spleen? I'll destroy your spleen first." Qin Haodong pierced Dao Tong's spleen with his sword, and then the 1,000 blades turned into a cold light again and pierced Dao Tong's liver. Then there were a few more screams. The 1,000 blades pierced the old Taoist's liver, kidney, and lungs one after another. You can't kill me. Please let me go. Dao Tong was injured one after another and covered in blood. He had long lost his sage-like demeanor. Although he had been forced into desperation by Dao Xian several times before, he knew that Dao Xian would not kill him. But this time was different. He had smelled death from the young man in front of him. Go to hell. Whether it was refining the 5 elements of soul-nourishing elixir or kidnapping Wang Rubing, Qin Haodong had made up his mind to kill Dao Tong. The 1,000 blades in his hand flashed and turned into a flash of light, stabbing Dao Tong's heart. At this time, a loud shout came from the side, "Spare him." Although the voice was still 100 meters away, it was full of energy. It came from a master of internal strength. Then a figure galloped toward this side in the night. But Qin Haodong ignored it. No matter who came today, Dao Tong must die. This evil old Taoist must not be left alive. The 1,000 blades did not stop. It directly pierced Dao Tong's heart and penetrated his heart. Dao Tong spat out a big mouthful of blood, then fell to the ground on his back, his eyes full of unwillingness. He had always felt that he was superior and could decide the life and death of others at will, but he never really thought that he would be killed one day. Now the day had come. The young man had no scruples about piercing his heart. Qin Haodong killed Dao Tong and looked back at the source of the voice. At this time, the black shadow had come to him. It was Dao Xian, Dao Tong's senior brother. Dao Xian looked at Dao Tong, whose internal organs had been pierced, and let out a deep sigh. Immeasurable Lord, junior brother, I'm still late. You've killed too many people. This is also God's will. Qin Haodong said, Taoist priest, Dao Tong killed people and took their internal organs to refine the 5 elements of soul-nourishing elixir. I've cleaned up the sect for you. After that, he began to be secretly on guard, not knowing what Dao Xian's attitude would be. Dao Xian sighed again and said, My little friend, I know Dao Tong has his reasons for dying. I don't blame you for killing him, but he is a member of the Qingyi school after all. Please allow me to take his remains back to the head. Yes. Qin Haodong agreed without hesitation. Death was like a lamp going out. Dao Tong was dead, so there was no need to care about his body. Moreover, he had a very good impression of Dao Xian. If it hadn't been for the old Taoist's help last time, he and his daughter would have died in the hands of Dao Tong. Thank you. Dao Xian picked up Dao Tong's body with one hand and quickly disappeared into the night. At this time, there was a harsh siren in the night sky, followed by countless beams of light. A police car surrounded the mound, and Nailin Wuxia rushed over with dozens of armed special police officers. She ran to Qin Haodong and asked eagerly, How is it? Is Rubing all right? She's fine. Fortunately, I came in time. After a brief introduction of the situation, Qin Haodong pointed to Zhang Lijun, who had just gotten up from the ground, and said, The case is very clear. He killed all the people. Knowing that the murderer was Zhang Lijun, Nailin Wuxia came to him and snapped, As a doctor, you don't want to treat people and save people. Instead, you do such inhumane things. You don't deserve to be a human being, let alone a doctor. Just wait for the punishment of the law. Seeing that his master, whom he regarded as a god, was dead, Zhang Lijun knew that the situation was hopeless. After being reprimanded by Nailin Wuxia, he cried out crazily, Why? Why do you do this to me? Is it wrong for me to want to live forever? Do you know how many people I have saved as a doctor over the years? How many people have I saved by opening Guangren Hospital? If I live forever, I can save many, many more people. What's wrong with killing a few people to make elixirs? I deserve it. Why should you stop me? You're crazy. Qin Haodong looked at Zhang Lijun, who had lost his mind, and said to Nailin Wuxia, This man is possessed. Don't talk nonsense, just take him away. Nailin Wuxia waved her hand, and immediately several policemen rushed up with handcuffs. Stop, all of you, stop. A shiny scalpel appeared in Zhang Lijun's hand, and he shouted wildly, You can't arrest me. No one can punish me except myself. After that, he turned the scalpel and stabbed himself directly in the heart. Then he fell to the ground with a thud, and there was no breath of life. Zhang Lijun's suicide was beyond everyone's expectation, but it was also good. It saved them a lot of trouble. Nailin Wuxia waved her hand, and someone immediately took his body away. Qin Haodong took Nailin Wuxia to the 4 incubators. He reached out and took the 4 soul-locking copper coins that Dao Tong had put on them in his palm. He used several incantations to break the restriction on the copper coins. The four souls broke away from the shackles of the soul-locking copper coins and slowly rose. After bowing to Qin Haodong in the void, they entered samsara. The soul-locking copper coins were put into the storage ring. Qin Haodong said to Nalan Wuxia, "Well, I'll leave these things to you." Nalan Wuxia sighed and said sadly, "These people are dead. Send their organs to the hospital first. We'll discuss how to deal with them after contacting their families." Soon, the police finished dealing with the scene and left with Zhang Lijun's body and the organs. Only Nalan Wuxia stayed. Qin Haodong came to Wang Rubing and massaged her body a few times. The greenwood genuine qi quickly forced the anesthetic out of her body. Wang Rubing had just lost the ability to move, but her mind was clear and she was very clear about what had happened. When she regained her ability to move, she threw herself into Qin Haodong's arms and cried. What had just happened had really frightened her. If Qin Haodong had been a step slower, she would have become the material of the old Taoist's alchemy. "Well, it's all right." Qin Haodong patted her on the back and comforted her. "Get up, your boyfriend is still lying on the ground." Wang Rubing climbed out of Qin Haodong's arms and said eagerly, "Haodong saved Zhang Hao. What his father did has nothing to do with him." "I know," Qin Haodong said as he patted Zhang Hao a few times. Zhang Hao was just knocked out by Dao Tong. After dredging his qi in blood, he immediately sat up from the ground. "Rubing, none of you can touch Rubing." Zhang Hao shouted and looked around. When he saw Wang Rubing standing beside him intact, he grabbed her and said, "Did my father do anything to you?" Wang Rubing took his hand and said, "It's all right. It's all over. Haodong saved us." Zhang Hao looked around again and saw only Nalan Wuxia and the others. He asked, "What the hell is going on? Where's my father? And that abominable old Taoist, he must have bewitched my father." "Zhang Hao, you must be strong. Your father, he..." At this point Wang Rubing stammered. She was afraid that Zhang Hao couldn't take the blow. "Let me tell you. Some things had to be faced sooner or later. It was better to get the pain over with." Qin Haodong took Zhang Hao to sit down and told him the whole case from beginning to end. Finally he said, "Although Director Zhang is your father, he is really guilty. He killed 4 innocent people in succession and finally committed suicide to escape punishment." "How could this be? How could this be?" Zhang Hao's face was pale and his expression was dull. He kept repeating these 2 sentences. What happened tonight was too much of a blow to him. Wang Rubing looked at Qin Haodong and said worriedly, "Is Zhang Hao all right?" "He's fine. He just can't accept it for a while. Take him back to rest and comfort him." Qin Haodong and Wang Rubing helped Zhang Hao into their car, and then Wang Rubing took Zhang Hao back. After they left, there were only him and Nalan Wuxia. Nalan Wuxia looked at Qin Haodong with watery eyes. Suddenly, she rushed forward and hugged Qin Haodong's neck and kissed him hard. Chapter 388. Qin Haodong was a little surprised, but a man couldn't admit defeat in this kind of thing, so he immediately kissed back. After a long time the two slowly separated. Nalan Wuxia was still holding Qin Haodong's neck, her forehead touching his forehead and the tip of her nose touching his nose. She whispered, "Thank you for helping me again." She knew very well that if Qin Haodong hadn't quickly found the clues to solve the case, Zhang Lijun would have killed the 5th person and wouldn't have done any more cases in the future. This serial murder case would have become a dead case and a big stain on her career as a police officer. Looking at the extremely beautiful face in front of him, Qin Haodong couldn't help but gently peck her red lips again. Then he said, "Serving beautiful women is the basis of happiness. It's nothing. And if I hadn't helped you, my sister would have been killed by that bastard Dao Tong." Nalan Wuxia pulled Qin Haodong to sit down on the ground, looked up at the stars in the sky and said, "Since you appeared, you have saved my life and helped me so much. As long as you are around I feel very safe. I feel that you are omnipotent and nothing is difficult for you." Speaking of this, she turned to look at Qin Haodong and said, "The old Taoist said that I have a Mr. Right in my life. It should be you." "I'm not that good." Qin Haodong touched his nose and said with some narcissism, "Everyone has shortcomings and so do I. It's just that I have too many advantages and haven't found the shortcomings yet." "You're flattering yourself." Nalan Wuxia leaned on Qin Haodong's shoulder and said, "Do you think the sloppy old Taoist was right?" "I feel very right. You are a perfect man in my eyes. You are my Mr. Right. It's a pity that there are too many beautiful women around you." Qin Haodong said, "I don't know. Maybe the old Taoist was just talking nonsense to cheat you of 400 yuan. Or maybe the person he was talking about was not me. You haven't met him yet." Nalan Wuxia held his arm tightly and said, "I don't care. Anyway, I've fallen in love with you. I won't find another man. It's up to you. Qin Haodong thought about it and said, let's leave everything to time. Maybe you'll regret it after a while. I won't regret it. Nalan Wuxia said, I think the old Taoist is right. This is my life. Qin Haodong felt that the atmosphere was a little heavy, so he changed the topic and said, that sloppy old Taoist is really a master. If he hadn't told me, maybe we wouldn't have been able to solve the case now. It's a pity that I didn't ask his name or leave his contact information. Nalan Wuxia said, it doesn't matter. If we are destined, we will meet him again. Well, you've been tired for so many days. Now that the case has been resolved, go back and rest. After that, Qin Haodong took Nalan Wuxia's hand and slowly walked out of the mound. Nalan Wuxia returned to the crime squad, and he returned to the Lin's villa. It was close to midnight. He entered the room quietly and saw that the little fellow was lying on the bed and had fallen asleep. Lin Momo was sitting on the bed and reading a book, still awake. Momo, it's so late but you haven't slept yet. Are you waiting for me? Qin Haodong said as he came to Lin Momo's side quietly and held her in his arms. He hadn't seen her for a few days, but he had a feeling that absence makes the heart grow fonder. His two big hands quickly moved and reached into Lin Momo's pajamas. Just as he was about to take further action, he heard the little fellow say, Papa, you're back? Qin Haodong was speechless. His precious daughter had been sleeping very soundly. Why did she suddenly wake up? He quickly took back his two big hands and turned to the little fellow and said, Yes, Papa is back. The little fellow asked, Papa, what were you doing just now? Qin Haodong had an idea in an emergency and said, Well, your mother just said that she was a little itchy, so she asked me to scratch it for her. Lin Momo gave him a charming look and thought, I didn't itch at first, but now I'm itchy because of you. Fearing that his precious daughter would ask other embarrassing questions, Qin Haodong quickly held the little fellow in his arms, kissed her chubby face and said, Tang Tang, have you missed Papa these days? Yes, I miss Papa. After the little fellow said that, she suddenly sniffed hard and said, Papa, why do you smell so good? Are you with another auntie again? Qin Haodong was speechless again. He thought that he had been so careful, but how could he still be found out? He glanced at Lin Momo and was about to make up another reason when he heard the little fellow shout excitedly, I remember, this is the smell of third mother. Papa must be with third mother, right? Did you go on a honeymoon with third mother when you weren't at home these days? Qin Haodong really admired his precious daughter. What kind of nose was that? What kind of brain was that? How could he guess everything? He could even remember Nalan Wuxia's smell clearly. Well, Tang Tang, Papa is tired. Let's go to sleep. At the critical moment, Lin Momo helped him out. The three of them lay on the bed. The little fellow held Qin Haodong's arm and soon fell asleep again. Seeing that her daughter was completely asleep, Lin Momo said, Tell me, what have you been doing these days? Did you really go on a honeymoon with Sister Wuxia? No, I went to the police station to help solve the case these days. Qin Haodong didn't hide anything from Lin Momo. He told her about the serial murders from beginning to end. Finally, he said, Fortunately, I was involved in the case, or my sister would have died tonight. Lin Momo couldn't help but exclaim, I didn't expect these two people to be so crazy. In order to live forever, they even used human organs to make elixirs. It's really inhumane. Rubing is really unfortunate to encounter such a thing. But Zhang Hao is devoted to her. She should be happy in the future. Qin Haodong said, Some people are like this. In order to live forever, they don't care about the lives of others. Fortunately, everything is over. Dao Tong and Zhang Lijun are dead. This kind of thing will not happen again in the future. Let's live our own lives. After that, the two chatted for a while and fell asleep one after another. In the Yagyu family of M country, Yagyu Shinji, the master of the family, sat in the living room with a gloomy face. Opposite him sat a neon man in a kimono with a pigtail on the back of his head. This man's momentum was no weaker than Yagyu Shinji's. He had reached the level of first-grade heavenly ninja, which was the supreme power realm in Wuxia. Behind the man with the pigtail were three neon warriors. These people were wearing samurai suits with 3 stars printed on their collars and cuffs. They were 3-star superior ninjas. They were from the Hanaki family of Neon. The man with the pigtail was the master of the family, Hanaki Inuchi Wolf, and the other 3 were superior ninjas of their family. Yagyu Shinji said in a cold voice, Master Hanaki, what do you want to do when you bring people to our Yagyu family late at night? Are you here to show off? Hanaki Inuichiro laughed and said, Master Yagyu, what are you talking about? Our Hanaki family has always been on good terms with your Yagyu family. How can we show off? Yagyu Shinji did not speak and his face was still gloomy. Fire could not be contained in paper. Although the Yagyu family had done a good job of keeping secrets recently, the news still leaked out. The news that the great elder Yagyu Ken had died and the Yagyu family's strength had been seriously damaged had spread throughout Neon. Neon had always been a country where the strong preyed on the weak. Seeing the Yagyu family declining day by day, many families began to have ideas about them. The Hanaki family in front of him was the most obvious one. Tonight, Hanaki Inuichiro came uninvited and brought 3 superior ninjas, which was obviously malicious. As for what he had just said, Yagyu Ken and the Hanaki family had always been on good terms, Yagyu Shinji would not believe it. Sure enough, Hanaki Inuichiro said, "Hanaki family, I heard that your family has not been very good recently. Unfortunately, the great elder died in Wuxia, and more than half of the superior ninjas have been lost. Our Hanaki family deeply sympathizes with you." Yagyu Shinji said, "Master Hanaki, you can't talk nonsense. The great elder has been in seclusion in our Yagyu family. He has not died at all." Ha! Hanaki Inuichiro laughed wildly. When he was done he said, "Master of the Yagyu family, don't play that kind of self-deception anymore. Yagyu Ken's death is known throughout Neon. It's useless for you to deny it. Call him out if you can. As long as Yagyu Ken can come to me, I, Hanaki Inuichiro, promise to leave immediately without saying a word." Yagyu Shinji also knew that this matter could not be hidden anymore. He said, "Hanaki, what do you want to do? In fact, it's nothing. Our Hanaki family feels that the Yagyu family has not been doing well recently, so we want to help you." Then he said with a sinister smile, "I heard that the Yagyu family has no power to maintain the casino on Yagyu Road now. Why don't you hand it over to our Hanaki family? We'll help you take care of it." "Don't even think about it." Yagyu Shinji was furious. He did not expect Hanaki Inuichiro to have such a big appetite that he even wanted to take over the Yagyu Road casino. This casino was one of the most profitable businesses of the Yagyu family. They would not hand it over in any case. Hanaki Inuichiro was not anxious. He continued to say with a smile, "Master Yagyu, there is one thing you have to be clear about. Now you can't keep this casino at all with your current strength. It's better to hand it over to our Hanaki family. If you really want to fight, the consequences will be unbearable for your Yagyu family." Speaking of this, his face became cold, and his natural momentum suddenly burst out. The 3 superior ninjas behind him also pulled out their swords. It seemed that they would fight at any time. Yagyu Shinji was furious. He did not expect Hanaki Inuichiro to bully him directly. However, as the master of the family, he still had to think about the family. Now the strength of the Yagyu family was greatly damaged. In addition to him, a heavenly ninja, there were only 2 3-star superior ninjas left, which was a little worse than the Hanaki family. The middle ninjas and lower ninjas were much worse. If they really fought, it was likely that the Yagyu family would be destroyed. There was no other way. They had lost nearly half of their strength last time. Thinking of this, he could only hold back his anger and said, "Hanaki, the casino on Yagyu Road is absolutely out of the question. We have several other casinos. We can consider giving you one." Hanaki Inuichiro sneered proudly and said, "Yagyu Shinji, to tell you the truth, our Hanaki family is fully prepared tonight. If you hand over the casino, we'll live in peace. If you don't, there will be no Yagyu family in Neon." Yagyu Shinji was furious. "Hanaki, don't go too far. If you really push our Yagyu family, you can't take advantage of it." Hanaki Inuichiro stood up and sneered. "I'm going too far. What can you do about it? Who dares to be rude to our Yagyu family? Do you want to die?" With a shout, the door opened with a bang, and a delicate figure with a huge momentum appeared in front of the door. Chapter 389. The people of the Hanaki family looked at the door together and saw a very beautiful woman standing in front of it. She had a good figure, but her pretty face was covered with frost. She was full of killing intent. It was Yagyu Yukai. "A woman dares to disrespect our Hanaki family. I'll show you how powerful our Hanaki family men are." It was Hanaki Naoki, a 3-star ninja behind Hanaki Inuichiro, who spoke. He had done some research before. Yagyu Yukai had the highest cultivation after Yagyu Shinji, but she was only a 3-star ninja, not a heavenly ninja. This guy thought he was the first person under the heavenly ninja, so he didn't take Yagyu Yukai seriously at all. He also intended to show Yagyu Shinji his power and let him see the power of the Hanaki family. So he directly pulled out his sword and rushed to Yagyu Yukaim. First cut. After a loud shout, the sword in Hanaki Naoki's hand flashed out. This cut was majestic and terrible. Yukaim, be careful. Yagyu Shinji's pupils shrank, but Hanaki Inuichiro was glaring at him, so he didn't dare to help. Hanaki Naoki's mouth was full of pride. In his opinion, his cut had reached the essence of first cut. As a woman, Yagyu Yukaim had no other way but to dodge. He even began to prepare the next move. You're courting death. But at this moment, Yagyu Yukaim's eyes flashed coldly, and the sword in her hand went straight to Hanaki Naoki. This move was so fast that Hanaki Naoki didn't see where the sword was. He only felt a flash of light in front of him, and then a heart-wrenching pain came from his chest. Then, like a punctured balloon, he lost all his strength in an instant. He couldn't even hold the sword in the air, and it fell to the ground with a clang. You, heavenly ninja! Hanaki Naoki stared at Yagyu Yukaim with his eyes full of horror. He didn't expect that Yagyu Yukaim had entered the heavenly stage. Whether it was Covert Power or Grandmaster or Jonin and Heavenly Ninja, there was a huge gap between them. Once they crossed this gap, their strength would increase tenfold. Even a superior ninja who was closest to a heavenly ninja was vulnerable in front of a real heavenly ninja. If he had known that Yagyu Yukaim had reached the level of a heavenly ninja, not only would Hanaki Naoki not have taken action just now, but even the Hanaki family would not have dared to provoke her today, because the power of a heavenly ninja was definitely not something that a superior ninja could offend. But it was too late to regret now. Hanaki Naoki's chest had been cut open by Yagyu Yukaim. His eyes turned over and he could only die unwillingly. Yagyu Yukaim did not put away her sword. The tip of the sword was still dripping with red blood. Her cold eyes glanced around again. She said to Hanaki Inuichiro with a murderous look, "Anyone who offends the Yagyu family will die." Seeing Yagyu Yukaim kill Hanaki Naoki with one knife, Yagyu Shinji couldn't believe his eyes. He knew very well how difficult it was to cross the threshold from high-level ninja to heavenly ninja. This was also the reason why heavenly ninjas were extremely rare and honorable. He didn't expect his daughter to become a heavenly ninja. "Yukaim, did you succeed? You deserve to be the pride of our Yagyu family." At this time he was extremely excited and swept away his depression. It was rare for a family to have two heavenly ninjas in the whole Neon. At least the Hanaki family couldn't provoke this kind of strength. Yagyu Yukaim nodded and said, "Yes, father. Just now, I broke through and became a proud heavenly ninja." "Great, it's really great. Amaterasu, God bless our Yagyu family." Yagyu Shinji looked back at Hanaki Inuichiro and said proudly, "Hanaki, do you still want my Yagyu family's casino now?" Hanaki Inuichiro was tense all over. In the face of two natural ninja masters, he didn't dare to relax at all. He didn't even dare to look at Hanaki Naoki, who was dead on one side. "Master of the Yagyu family, it's our Hanaki family's fault this time. We are willing to accept punishment." Compared with before, his attitude had changed 180 degrees. In Neon, everyone respected the strong and strength was king. At this time, the Yagyu family already had two heavenly ninja masters, which was definitely not something that the Hanaki family could afford to provoke. Moreover, people under the eaves had to bow their heads. Although there were three of them now, he was the only heavenly ninja, and the other two were just superior ninjas. Even if they joined forces, they would not be able to survive more than 10 moves. At that time, not only would the two superior ninjas die, but he would also face the joint attack of Yagyu Shinji and Yagyu Yukaim. If Yagyu Shinji wanted to, he could leave all three of them here. If they died, the Hanaki family would soon be eroded by other forces and nothing would be left. "You know what's good for you?" Yagyu Shinji said proudly. "From now on, the Hanaki family's wharf and diving bay belongs to the Yagyu family. Do you have any problem with that?" The wharf and diving bay was extremely important to the Hanaki family. Could be said that it made a lot of money every day. It was an important source of income for the Hanaki family. Yagyu Shinji asking for the wharf was tantamount to cutting off a piece of meat from the Hanaki family. However, Hanaki Inuichiro could not object now. After all, losing a piece of meat was much better than losing his life. "No problem. From today on, the wharf and diving bay is the property of the Yagyu family." Hanaki Inuichiro could still make a prompt decision at a critical time. "You know what's good for you? Get out of here." Yagyu Shinji directly drove out several people from the Hanaki family. He was not worried that Hanaki Inuichiro would go back on his words, because strength determined everything. At the moment, the Yagyu family already had two heavenly ninjas, which was their greatest confidence. Several people from the Hanaki family bowed deeply to Yagyu Shinji and Yagyu Yukaim, and then fled from the Yagyu family in embarrassment. Yagyu Shinji looked back at Yagyu Yukaim and said excitedly, "Yukaim, good job. I didn't misjudge you." Recently, when the family's strength had been seriously damaged, he had indeed been under great pressure. But now it was all right. There was one more heavenly ninja in the family, which was enough to make up for the previous loss. On the contrary, it had been greatly improved. He believed that after the news was spread by the Hanaki family, no one would dare to make trouble for the Yagyu family. Yagyu Yukaim bowed her head and said, "Yukaim can have what she has today because of your good cultivation, father." Yagyu Shinji laughed and said, "Let's not talk about this. Now that you have entered the threshold of heavenly ninja, father is going to ask you to go to Wuxia." Yagyu Yukaim raised her head, and a trace of surprise appeared on her delicate face. "Father, didn't you say that we couldn't set foot in Wuxia in a short time?" Yagyu Shinji shook his head and said, "That was then and this is now. At that time you were just a superior ninja. The Yagyu family was surrounded by wolves, and the first thing you had to do was to ensure survival. Now it's different. With you and me, two heavenly ninjas, no one dares to provoke us." Yagyu Yukaim said, "Father is right. I will go to Wuxia tomorrow to avenge my brother." Yagyu Shinji said, "Your brother's revenge must be avenged, but it's not urgent. This time I want you to go to Wuxia for another important task." Yagyu Yukaim asked, "Father, what do you want me to do?" Yagyu Shinji said, "Recently the family's economic operation has not been very good. So many people died some time ago, and a large amount of money has been spent on pensions, which has made the family's economy even more strained. I want to organize an investigation team and ask you to lead the team to Wuxia." Yagyu Yukaim said, "Father, with all due respect, although the economy of Wuxia has been growing rapidly in recent years, distant water can't quench the immediate thirst. Even if we make a few deals, we can't quickly alleviate our current predicament." "You're right, but asking you to talk about business is just a cover. It's not our real purpose." Yagyu Shinji said, "During your retreat, a Tangmin traditional Chinese medicine company appeared in Wuxia and produced a kind of traditional Chinese medicine called the blood revival elixir. This medicine can completely cure leukemia. If we can get the formula of this medicine, it will definitely be a profitable business. At that time, the family will never have to worry about money. Moreover, the boss behind Tangmin Company is our great enemy, Qin Haodong. You have two purposes this time. One is to get the formula of the blood revival elixir. If you can kill Qin Haodong and avenge your brother. Before, I was a little hesitant to send you to Wuxia. Now that you have become a heavenly ninja, I think you can complete this task." Yagyu Yukaim said, "Yes, father. I won't let you down. You must remember that the two tasks are different. You must get the formula first, which is related to the lifeline of our Yagyu family in the future. After completing this task, if there is a chance, kill Qin Haodong." After a pause, Yagyu Shinji said, "Wuxia has always been a place of hidden dragons and crouching tigers. Although you have become a heavenly ninja, you are not invincible in the world. You must be careful when you arrive in Wuxia. In order to ensure your safety, this time I am going to contact the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and ask them to set up an investigation group in the name of the official. You will be the leader so that your identity will be protected. I think the Wuxia people will not mess around." Yagyu Yukaim said, "Father, is this necessary? I think with my current skills I can complete the task you gave me." Yagyu Shinji said, "It's better to be careful. The first two failures were because we were too careless and underestimated the Wuxia people. This time we must not repeat the same mistake. Our Yagyu family can no longer afford to fail, especially you. Now, you are very important to the Yagyu family. Even if the task fails, there can be no mistakes. You must come back safely." "I know, father. For the Yagyu family, this task will never fail." After that, Yagyu Yukaim left directly. In Jiangnan City, after solving the serial murders, Qin Haodong's life was back on track. The next day after breakfast, he and Lin Momo sent the little fellow to kindergarten and then went to work at Tangmen Company. He sat in the president's office all morning, tasting fragrant tea and watching Lin Momo work opposite him. His life was very comfortable. Near noon, Lu Yage walked in from the outside with a heavy look. "President, something happened." Lin Momo looked up and asked, "What's wrong, Sister Lu?" Lu Yage said, "This morning I went to the wholesale market with the purchasing department to buy medicinal materials, but I found that the prices of all the medicinal materials we needed had increased by 2 or 3 times. If this is the case, not only will the cost of the blood revival elixir greatly increase, but it will also be more than 1,000 yuan to recover the cost. The great liver-protecting elixir will also be greatly affected. Lin Momo's expression also changed as she asked, how could this be? Recently, the medicinal materials market has been very stable. I heard that the place of origin has had a good harvest. How could the price rise? Lu Yage said, I don't know the details. The people in the wholesale market said that because the boss changed, the whole wholesale market has been bought by a neon company. The boss asked for a price increase. Chapter 390. Qin Haodong said, got it, Sister Lu. Just make sure that the medicinal materials are used on the same day. Leave the rest to us. Lu Yage nodded and turned to leave the office. Qin Haodong said, I didn't expect that in just a few days, the purchase of medicinal materials would go wrong again. It seems that as a traditional Chinese medicine industry, we'd better control the wholesale market. Lin Momo said, I also thought about that. After Wang Desheng made trouble last time, I also asked someone to do a capital budget. If we want to fully acquire the Chinese medicine wholesale market, we need at least 3 billion yuan. We are short of funds now, so we temporarily put it aside. I didn't expect it to be acquired so soon. Qin Haodong said, 3 billion yuan? Is really not a small amount. Although they now had 2 pharmaceutical factories producing, they had not yet reached the stage of profitability, so they were not very rich. Lin Momo frowned and said, I don't know who acquired the medicinal materials market. Generally speaking, it's not appropriate to have large price fluctuations just after the acquisition. The other party suddenly increased the price of medicinal materials by so much. Was it impulsive or aimed at us? It's no use guessing. We'll know after asking. Qin Haodong took out his mobile phone and dialed Wang Rubing's number. The government must know about such a big acquisition. Haodong, what's the matter? Wang Rubing's voice was calm. It seemed that her mood had returned to normal. How's Zhang Hao? Not bad, much better than yesterday, but he's still not in a good mood. No matter who encounters this kind of thing, he needs some time to digest it. He'll get better slowly. After talking about Zhang Hao, Qin Haodong asked, Sister, I want to ask you something. I heard that a foreign company bought the Chinese medicine wholesale market. Do you know the situation? Wang Rubing said, I know this. The acquisition was completed yesterday. It was a major success of the investment promotion agency. I've already reported the specific situation. What's the specific situation? Who is the outstanding party? It's Yagyu Corporation of Neon. They invested 3 billion yuan to buy the Chinese medicine market. I heard that they are going to further strengthen and expand it. Wang Rubing said, this time the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Neon organized an investigation team to Jiangnan City. The leader is Yagyu Yukam. The investment promotion agency attaches great importance to it. I heard that there will be a reception at the Jiangnan Hotel tonight. According to the scale and influence of Tangmen Company, you should be able to receive an invitation. Don't you know about this? I just came back, so I don't know much about the situation. Qin Haodong said thoughtfully, Yagyu Corporation Yagyu Yukam. I didn't expect them to come so soon. Wang Rubing said, what? Are you familiar with them? Qin Haodong said, of course. Yagyu Hirai, who kidnapped you last time, is from Yagyu Corporation. I guess they came to Wuxia this time for more than just business. They must have another purpose. It's them. Haodong, are these people here for revenge? Hearing that it was the people who had kidnapped her, Wang Rubing immediately became nervous. Don't be so nervous. Since they came to Wuxia through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Neon, they shouldn't do anything too out of line, at least on the surface. After thinking about it, Qin Haodong added, but it's better to be careful. I'll arrange some people to protect you these days. Don't worry, if they're here for me, things will be settled quickly. Thinking of Yagyu Hirai and the others who had been killed by Qin Haodong last time, Wang Rubing said, Haodong, this time the Neon people came through the government. You must be careful. I know. Qin Haodong hung up the phone, turned around and called Saber over. He asked him to arrange 2 capable members of Daddy Security Company to protect Wang Rubing. After he finished the arrangement, Lin Momo asked, did you find out? What's going on? The Neon Yagyu family bought the Chinese herbal medicine wholesale market. Some time ago, I left nearly 100 masters of the Yagyu family in Wuxia. Can be said that they have a deep hatred for me. This time they suddenly came to Wuxia, probably for me. Lin Momo said with a little nervousness, what should we do? The Yagyu family came to Wuxia not just to buy a Chinese herbal medicine wholesale market. They must have other purposes. Don't worry, let's wait and see. Qin Haodong said, I heard that the investment promotion agency held a reception for the Neon delegation. Did we receive an invitation? Lin Momo said, if you didn't mention it, I would have forgotten. I did receive an invitation yesterday afternoon. I didn't plan to attend it and I didn't take it to heart. After the incident with the father and son of the Wang family of the Jiangnan Chamber of Commerce, she had some resistance to such things as a reception, so she directly threw the invitation aside. As she spoke, she took an exquisitely made invitation from the desk and handed it to Qin Haodong. Qin Haodong took it and looked at it. It was signed by the Investment Promotion Agency of Jiangnan City and the Yagyu Corporation. It was a reception jointly organized by the two. He put down the invitation and said to Lin Momo, get ready. We'll go together tonight. Are we really going? Of course we are. Otherwise, how can we find out the Yagyu family's trump card? We have to solve the problem of the Chinese herbal medicine wholesale market as soon as possible. Otherwise, we will face the pressure of increasing costs every day. Lin Momo nodded. That was indeed the case. At present, this problem must be solved. You go ahead. I have to make some preparations. After that, Qin Haodong turned around and went back to his room. Only by knowing oneself and the enemy could one win every battle. Before fighting, he had to fully understand the situation of the Yagyu family. He first dialed Qi Waner's number and asked her to help collect relevant information about the Yagyu family. Then he called Hu Xiaoxian. Soon, Hu Xiaoxian's charming voice came over the phone. Little man, why did you call me? Is there something you need my help with? Qin Haodong said awkwardly, I want to ask you something. I knew you wouldn't think of me if there was nothing wrong, but it doesn't matter. You're my little man. Tell me, what do you want to ask? Qin Haodong briefly introduced Yagyu Yukaim's visit to Wuxia and then said, I want to know the purpose of the Yagyu family's visit to Wuxia this time and other information about the Yagyu family. Hu Xiaoxian said, after the last battle, I paid special attention to the Yagyu family and collected a lot of relevant information. Last time, nearly 100 masters of the Yagyu family were killed, especially the great elder Yagyu Ken. This greatly damaged the strength of the Yagyu family. In order to prevent being swallowed by other families, they have been in a state of defense. Moreover, the financial situation of the Yagyu family has not been very good recently. This time they came to Wuxia. I guess they want to solve this problem, but I don't know what they want to do. She talked endlessly and told Qin Haodong all the information she knew. After listening, Qin Haodong asked again, how much do you know about Yagyu Yukaim? Hu Xiaoxian said, Yagyu Yukaim is very famous in Neon. She was once known as the most promising genius and beautiful girl. At the age of 16, she entered the ranks of the Yagyu Ken family's 3-star superior ninja, which is equivalent to the 9th level of covert power in Wuxia. After she became an adult, she received the nickname of the double-faced enchantress. This woman is sometimes cold, like an iceberg, and sometimes passionate, like a flame. It's hard to understand her character, so she is called double-faced. The Xinyuan Pavilion's file on her has a total of 16 words. She is as beautiful as a flower, as vicious as a scorpion, with a changeable character and superb skills. The double-faced enchantress? That's really interesting. A playful smile appeared at the corner of Qin Haodong's mouth. Little man, don't tell me that you have a crooked mind because you heard that she is beautiful? Let me tell you, Yagyu Yukaim is not an ordinary woman. It's not for nothing that she has a vicious heart. She once kicked 5 men's balls and cut off 7 men's penises. When you see her, you have to keep a close eye on your own treasure. Qin Haodong couldn't help but say, don't worry. This kind of woman, even if she is naked in front of me, I won't look at her. Don't be so confident. Wait until you see Yagyu Yukaim. That woman is really beautiful. Maybe she will take your soul away. After Hu Xiaoxian finished speaking, she giggled and hung up the phone. At this time, the information that Qi Weiner had inquired about was also sent from the computer. Qin Haodong took a brief look and found that it was not much different from what Hu Xiaoxian had said. However, the list of the Neon delegation this time surprised him a little. Except for Yagyu Yukaim, they were all ordinary people. There was no warrior, so he couldn't understand the intention of the Yagyu family for a while. Yagyu Yukaim, a master who was half a step to the supreme power realm, was enough to attract Qin Haodong's attention. After collecting the information, he saw that there was still some time before the banquet, so he took out the elixir furnace and refined 2 furnaces of elixirs. When he walked out of the office again, it was almost evening. Lin Momo had changed into a black vacuum evening dress. Her head was decorated with beautiful headdress, which made her look more retro. The design of the dress was very strong, sexy and not vulgar. Her delicate facial features exuded charming charm, which made Qin Haodong's eyes light up. He opened his arms and said with a smile, "Mom, you are so beautiful. Come and give me a kiss." Lin Momo pushed Qin Haodong away and pointed to a set of clothes hanging next to her. "Stop it. Hurry up and change your clothes. It's almost time." "Do I also need to change?" "Of course, you have to dress formally to attend this kind of banquet." "All right then," Qin Haodong said as he began to change his clothes. For men, there would not be any change in clothes for this kind of business party. A simple white shirt with a black dress and a black bow tie. However, Qin Haodong was originally handsome, plus his almost perfect figure. Such a set of clothes was worn by him with a different temperament. After changing clothes, he said to Lin Momo, "How about it? Can you seduce a rich woman?" Lin Momo rolled her eyes at him and said, "You still want to seduce her? Do you think you don't have enough women now?" "Let's go. It's too late." Qin Haodong quickly took Lin Momo's hand and walked outside together. Yagyu Corporation came to Wuxia and was warmly received by the Jiangnan Investment Promotion Bureau. Tonight, a special business banquet was held, inviting many entrepreneurs in Jiangnan to attend, in order to enhance friendly exchanges between the two sides and increase opportunities for joint ventures and cooperation. The banquet was scheduled to start at 7 p.m., and the venue was chosen as the dreamy Jiangnan Hotel. What was different from the past was that the venue of the banquet was set in the hotel's garden, where the grass was green, the birds were singing and the flowers were fragrant. Coupled with the beautiful lights, it made people feel more comfortable than the banquet held indoors. As the protagonist of this banquet, the members of Yagyu Corporation had arrived early. Among the crowd, a tall figure with charming curves was extremely eye-catching. It was the double-faced beauty Yagyu Yukaim. Chapter 391. Tonight, Yagyu Yukaim was wearing a red evening dress. The neckline was very low, which made people look like mountains and deep ravines. Coupled with her high bun, white and slender neck and concave curves, she immediately attracted the attention of all the men present. However, her expression looked extremely cold. Even her eyes gave people a bone-piercing chill. It was as if she was an ice beauty carved out of ice. She looked very beautiful, but it made people flinch. Many men who thought they were successful people wanted to talk to her, but they were scared away by her cold expression. At this time, a young man in a famous brand suit came from afar. He had an arrogant expression on his face and was followed by several fierce-looking bodyguards. It was Wang Daji from the Wang family. After Wang Deshang's death, he had become the only heir of the Wang family. After Wang Haiding had suffered the pain of losing his son, he had become a little dispirited and haggard. He had begun to hand over the family business to Wang Daji, which made him more satisfied. Tonight, Wang Haiding had originally been invited, but he was no longer interested in this kind of banquet, so he had asked Wang Daji to attend on his behalf. As the heir of the Wang Group and the son of the president of the Jiangnan Chamber of Commerce, Wang Daji was flattered everywhere he went. After entering the door, Wang Daji saw Yagyu Yukaim in the crowd at a glance. His eyes suddenly lit up. He had seen Yagyu Yukaim's photos before. He hadn't expected that she was 10 times more beautiful and sexier than the photos. This almost made him drool. Except for the few women around Qin Haodong, he had never seen such a beautiful woman. He didn't dare to provoke Qin Haodong now, but he didn't care about a Japanese woman. In his opinion, Yagyu Yukaim was just an ordinary woman who had come to Wuxia to seek business opportunities. He was the son of the president of the Jiangnan Chamber of Commerce and the heir of the Wang Group. If she wanted to make money in Jiangnan, she had to win his favor. Thinking of this, he became more confident. He took a glass of red wine from the waiter next to him and walked straight to Yagyu Yukaim. "Miss Yukaim, welcome to Wuxia." Then, he raised the glass in his hand and said, "Miss Yukaim, can I invite you to have a drink?" There was still no expression on Yagyu Yukaim's cold face. She picked up the wine glass in her hand and took a sip. The combination of the scarlet wine and her delicate red lips gave people a breathtaking beauty. After drinking, Yagyu Yukaim turned around and asked in a cold voice, "Who are you?" "Miss Yagyu, let me introduce myself. I'm Wang Daji, the heir of the Wang Group. My father is Wang Haiding, the president of the Jiangnan Chamber of Commerce. Since you've come to Jiangnan, I'm sure we'll have a lot of cooperation in the future. Don't worry, as long as you cooperate with our Wang Group in Jiangnan, it will be very easy to make money." In Wang Daji's opinion, The reason why Yagyu Yukaim's attitude was so cold was that she didn't know who he was. As long as he told her his identity, this woman would definitely come forward to please him immediately. She might even throw herself into his arms. However, the truth was the opposite of what he thought. The expression on Yagyu Yukaim's face was still frozen. There was no sign of it melting. She said coldly, "I'm not interested. If you want to cooperate, go talk to our deputy leader Miyashiro Yoshida." Wang Daji's face had just bloomed with a smile, but now it was as if he had been frozen. He hadn't expected this Japanese woman to not give him face. "Miss Yukaim, I don't know if you heard it clearly, but my father is the president of the Jiangnan Chamber of Commerce. I'm the heir of the Wang Group." Before he could finish his words, Yagyu Yukaim's cold face finally changed. After a flash of disgust, she turned around and stopped looking at him. As a heavenly ninja, she had her own pride. Wang Desheng's arrogance and obscenity in his eyes made her extremely uncomfortable. This was only in Wuxia. If she had been in Japan, she would have cut off this guy's penis and made it into slices. Wang Desheng didn't know this. His conversation had attracted the attention of other people around him. Seeing that he had been defeated in front of Yagyu Yukaim, some people began to rejoice, some people began to sneer, and some people whispered. The crowd's ridicule made Wang Desheng lose face. Facing Yagyu Yukaim's back, his eyes were so angry that they were about to spit fire. "Yagyu Yukaim, wait and see. I won't let you do any business in Jiangnan." After saying this, Wang Desheng angrily retreated to the side. He held a glass of wine and drank gloomily. Yagyu Yukaim didn't even have the interest to look at him from beginning to end. Seeing that the son of the president of the Chamber of Commerce, the young master of the Wang family, couldn't get a good result in front of this woman, the others immediately lost the idea of talking to her. No one went to ask for trouble. Qin Haodong and Lin Momo arrived at the dreamy Jiangnan. For the sake of safety, he had brought all the members of the Divine Mercenaries. After getting out of the car, he took Lin Momo to the venue. It was impossible for a super good-looking group like them to keep a low profile. As soon as they appeared, they attracted a lot of attention. After handing in the invitation letter, the waiter led the two of them to the banquet site. After they appeared at the banquet, they immediately attracted the attention of the people around them. Originally, there was only one Yagyu Yukaim who was shining, but she gave people a feeling that strangers were not close to her. Now there was another Lin Momo. In terms of appearance, temperament, and figure, she was not inferior to Yagyu Yukaim at all. Moreover, Lin Momo had already taken off her cold shell. She stood there like a lily with an elegant temperament. It was because Lin Momo was too beautiful and outstanding that people ignored Qin Haodong, who was next to her. After entering the venue, Qin Haodong immediately found Yagyu Yukaim standing in the distance. His pupils shrank. A supreme power expert. Before coming, he had paid enough attention to this woman who was known as the two-faced enchantress, but he didn't expect that it was far from enough. Yagyu Yukaim had reached the supreme power realm, which was a big level higher than him. She deserved to be the martial arts genius of the Yagyu family. This discovery immediately made his expression become dignified. Fortunately, today was an official banquet. No matter how high Yagyu Yukaim's cultivation was, she would not easily make trouble. After stabilizing his mind, he looked at Yagyu Yukaim again and felt the coldness of this woman. She was different from Lin Momo before. Lin Momo's coldness was fake. It was just a cold shell. However, Yagyu Yukaim's coldness came from the inside out, from the bones. As if feeling Qin Haodong's gaze, Yagyu Yukaim slowly turned around. The moment she saw Qin Haodong, a scene that shocked everyone happened. Her face, which seemed to be carved out of ice for thousands of years, melted in an instant and was full of a charming smile. With this smile, it seemed that the temperature of the entire banquet site had risen a bit, giving everyone a feeling of being bathed in the spring breeze. What was going on? No one had expected that this ice beauty would smile, and her smile was so bright and charming. The most important thing was that the young master of the Wang family didn't get any color from her just now, but now she was smiling like a flower. Why was that? Who had such a great ability to make such a big change in the ice beauty? Just when everyone was confused, Yagyu Yukaim walked over. Her charming smile and red evening dress added a bit of sexiness. In addition, the majestic mountain trembled up and down as she walked, which attracted the attention of countless people. Qin Haodong also felt the huge change in Yagyu Yukaim. It seemed that the nickname of the two-faced beauty was not in vain. On one side there was an iceberg and on the other side there was a flame. He suspected that this woman had a dual personality. The acting skills of a movie king were just SOSO. Moreover, it seemed that this woman was aiming at him and Lin Momo. Sure enough, Yagyu Yukaim went straight to them. She first smiled at Lin Momo and said, "I'm Yagyu Yukaim from the Japanese Yagyu family. President Lin, you're very beautiful. You're so beautiful that I'm a little jealous. Miss Yukaim, you're too polite. You're more beautiful." Lin Momo didn't know Yagyu Yukaim's intention, so she just replied politely. "President Lin, I want to dance with Mr. Qin. Can I?" Yagyu Yukaim said as she turned to look at Qin Haodong. The smile on her face became more and more charming. Lin Momo didn't expect her to make such a request. Out of politeness, she smiled and said, "As long as he's willing, I have no problem." Yagyu Yukaim said to Qin Haodong, "Mr. Qin, would you like to dance with me? It's my honor to dance with Miss Yukaim." Qin Haodong said as he reached out to Yagyu Yukaim and made a gesture of invitation. At the same time, he quietly said to Saber next to him, "She's a supreme power expert. Take Lin Momo away from here." Although Yagyu Yukaim's attitude was very good after seeing him, the more she acted like this, the more he felt that this woman was dangerous. It was definitely not a good thing for Lin Momo to stay here. If Yagyu Yukaim really made trouble, he could not stop her, let alone Saber and the others. The best way now was to go as far as possible. Therefore he took Yagyu Yukaim to the lawn next to them to dance and asked Saber to take Lin Momo away. After receiving the order, Saber's expression changed. He was very clear about the horror of a supreme power expert, so he immediately said a few words in Lin Momo's ear. Lin Momo smiled apologetically at the people next to her who were ready to come over to talk to her and said, "I'm sorry, there's something urgent in the company. I need to go back to deal with it. I'm sorry." After that, she hurriedly left the dreamy Jiangnan Hotel under the protection of Saber and the others, leaving the people opposite her with a puzzled look. They didn't understand why she had just arrived here and left again. However, soon these people's faces showed a clear expression. It must be that Lin Momo was jealous when she saw Qin Haodong dancing with that neon woman, so she left angrily. However, it was no wonder that neon woman didn't smile. Once she smiled, she was like a seductive demon. That gigolo was likely to be eaten by her. It was normal for Lin Momo to be jealous. Yagyu Yukaim gracefully followed Qin Haodong to the lawn, where there were already several couples dancing. She glanced in the direction that Lin Momo had left and said to Qin Haodong, "Your girlfriend seems to be jealous." Qin Haodong smiled slightly. Of course, he would not tell Yagyu Yukaim that he had already seen through her strength. Women sometimes have a very small temper. Besides, you're so beautiful, it's normal for her to be jealous. Yagyu Yukaim said with a smile, "This is completely different from neon. Our neon women will not be jealous." Qin Haodong looked at her charming and lovely face and laughed in his heart. "You won't be jealous, but you can directly cut off the other party's penis. Miss Yukaim, if I remember correctly, this is the first time we've met. How do you know me? Because your photo is hanging in my father's room. He slashes you a few times every day, so I naturally recognize you." After that, Yagyu Yukaim smiled charmingly again, but her smile was full of coldness. "You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.